Shin to the empty net. Wide. 2 seconds to go. Bring out the Zamboni. The Blues hang on, and they beat the Dallas Stars.
Let's get nasty here on a Thursday afternoon after a big Blues victory. Booyah! Jamie Rivers here, Carey Davis, Andrew Marsh. Boys, how we feeling today?
We're feeling great. Awesome.
That doesn't sound great.
You didn't sound me at all. Try it again.
I came in.
Try it
hey,
again.
boys, how we doing today? Let's go! There we go. See? That's much better.
Yeah, that's much better.
Feels better, too, doesn't it?
It did. It get the energy flowing in me as well. So
a little tinkle in your eyeball there.
You know, I just need a little bit.
We made eye contact.
Yeah.
It was kind of weird, yet not uncomfortable. You know what I mean?
Indeed.
So, boys, the Blues last night with a big victory. And before we get into like breaking it down into the every play, overall for you guys, as you watch the game, as you see the results, as you listen to the players, what's your reaction?
I mean, you have to be excited. I mean, the pace, the style, the energy, the effort, the wins, those are the things that Blues fans have been clamoring for, waiting for. Like, we know that there's an amount of talent here, there's an ability here, but why isn't it resulting in wins? And to win 5 of the last 6, you have to be figuring, okay, now maybe we can start to get excited, because all season long it was win 2, lose 2, win 1, lose 1, win 2, lose 1. It just was the up and down. But to win 5 of 6 and to be playing all styles, I mean, coming back from games, having the lead and being able to finish a game, those are things that have been problematic all season long. You get down in the game, hell, you can turn the TV off. It's time to go home.
Forget about it.
Forget about it. It's over, right? But that game against the Blackhawks was awesome. Game last night, you got the lead. You were able to finish in the right way and not give up a lead. What more could you be asking for right now if you're a Blues fan? And you have to be excited about it.
I thought Joel Hofer was fantastic. Last night, they don't score on the 5-on-3. Typically, that team, after they give up that tough goal, moments after the 5-on-3 is killed off, they lose that game. Like this previous iteration of the Blues find a way to lose that game, and they didn't this go around. And I think you're seeing a new look team, and they're building towards what they want to be, and I think that's very exciting. I'm just excited to see what they can do against the Avalanche, because if they can beat the Avalanche, then we got something going on here. Yeah. Now, I'm starting to buy, not that I was like completely out on the Blues, but
most people were.
I mean, a lot of people were. We talked about it.
Most.
A lot of people relegated the Blues to watching them on their phone, right, instead of the big TV at home. So I think this team looks like a new team, and I think it all started with the firing of Craig Berube.
Yeah,
that's tough, though, isn't it?
That's hard for me to wrap my brain around.
I hate that's what had to happen for people that listen. There aren't any new players, for the most part, here that weren't here with Berube.
Whoa, Mackenzie McEachran.
Okay, there you go.
Have you seen the Blues winning percentage with him in the lineup?
Clearly, that was the one thing that caused them to take off in the direction that they're going. That's what I'm saying. The frustrating part is these are the same players. It's essentially the same message. Now, maybe it's being given in a different manner, but hockey, football, basketball, baseball, the messages are the same across each team.
For the most part.
For the most part.
I agree.
It's direct. It's do your job, do it effectively. And the fact that you have the same players that were here with Berube, and then you went on that, 3-4 game losing streak before you got fired.
Yeah.
And now you're winners of 5 of 6. It's frustrating that it had to happen that way. But, again, you have to be happy that they are finally figuring some things out.
I agree. And, look, Craig Berube, sitting at home right now, wherever he knows.
Yeah.
He knows it's the new coach bump. Now can you sustain it? Because we're still only 6 games in, Carey.
Yes.
Okay, we're not ordering the rings just yet.
No.
Okay, but to your point, this exact same group of players is producing not just different results, but different look. And what I mean by that is when you're watching the product, you're more bought in.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Like when I'm watching the games, I don't feel like they're out of it. And when I'm watching the games, I don't feel like they can't hang on. Now, I will say this. Working the game between the benches last night when the Blues had a 2 full minute 5-on-3 power play, they generated 8 shots on net. And a couple were really close. I don't know how Kairos didn't go in. He hit somebody twice in wide open net. I don't know how the hell that happened, but it did. But you didn't get anything out of it. And I Carey, like when you're down there, you have a talk back button. So you can talk to the producers and the directors in the truck, and they help you pull video clips and all this stuff. There's a lot of stuff that goes on in the game that people don't know. People are in my ear telling me about, like, do you want this replay, that replay, this happened. I got to talk back to the plays going on. So there's a barrage of plays that are going on, and they killed off the 5-on-3. And I talked back to Timmy Pabst, our producer. I'm like, that's going to cost us. Watch. Yeah. And no sooner than I said that, a minute later, Robertson goes down and scores. And I thought to myself, woof, that's it. Yeah. Like, it's Scotty Bowman, who is the greatest hockey coach of all time. When I was with Detroit, he would tell us flat out, whoever doesn't score on a 5-on-3 loses that game. Yeah. And he goes, I know it's not every time, but he goes, go back over the course of history. And watch. Yeah. And for the rest of my life, this was 2003. So since that point in my life, I've watched these things. And more often than not, the team that doesn't score on a 5-on-3 ends up losing that game. Yeah.
There has to be a level of confidence for the team that survives the 5-on-3, right? When you are able to kill that penalty off, down 2 men, it has to give you a level of confidence to say, oh, these guys aren't good enough.
And adding a goal right after Kerber.
And then you go score.
You bring it down to 1 goal. You're right near the end of the period, too. Yeah. So that's still where I find the biggest difference right now in this Blues team is that heading into that intermission, it could have went one of 2 ways. Oh, here we go. Dude, you guys, you didn't score. You suck. You should have passed me the puck. I'm terrible. Like, the whole woe is me could have happened. But it didn't. They came out in the third period, and you could tell that they had a very clear structure in mind. And the structure was to defend the middle of the ice very hard, and then to get pucks out to an area that were non-dangerous.
You know what else? And tell me your take on this. The body language seems different. Like, it felt like...
Carey,
one of the things that drives me absolutely crazy. You miss a shot and you're staring at the Raptors, or you put your head down and you're like, come on, man. You're not going to make every shot. You're not going to make every play. Let's go. There are things that are taking place while you're moping or complaining or distraught about that moment. I haven't seen as much of that lately, which is obviously a good thing.
So Scotty Bowman, again, a man of great advice. He was a body language guy, too. And he turned me into a body language coach when I coached players after that. And even as I was a teammate, he used to tell me, when you act like that, not only, it doesn't affect you. Yeah. It doesn't affect your team. He says, maybe a little bit. He goes, do you know where the effect is? It's the other team watching you
they see it.
Be dejected. Yep. They see that, and they're like a lion on a prey.
Got him.
And they're like, we got this guy. Yeah. Keep frustrating him. Keep hitting him. Keep slashing him. Keep doing it. So don't give him that satisfaction. Yep. And so I learned, I was like, you know what? Even when I was terrible, I go back to the bench and keep my head high. I wanted to MF myself so bad, but I didn't do it. And you're right. These guys right now, they look like they're playing with a bigger confidence. Yeah. And, Drew Bannister has made some good choices as a coach already in his early tenure. The benching of Pavel Buchnevich, along with the accountability of Buchnevich. So Buch taking accountability, saying he wasn't good, coming back and playing good, that was a big boost for the coach. Right. Now, going to Joel Hofer in a situation that looked like it was an automatic Jordan Binnington start, paid off. So that's another good, solid coaching move.
On any team.
Don't start. I know where you're going. There's not a goaltending controversy.
No, I wasn't going to say that.
I saw you writing it down. And what's weird is you wrote it down like 12 different times in a row. And I'm like, this guy, he claims he doesn't know hockey, and here he is, writing goaltender controversy.
I wasn't going to say that.
Why would you do that?
What I was going to say is, with Pavel Buchnevich, when you're able as a coach to discipline one of your better players or your best players, it does send a signal to the rest of the team. Yeah. If I can do that to him, then if I'm the last man on the bench, or if I'm, in football, if I'm the 53rd man on the roster, I know I better get my stuff together and keep my stuff in order.
If the player responds.
He has to respond.
If the player pouts and starts blank you to the coach, it doesn't work.
We talked about that yesterday with BT and I, with the comparisons of that situation and Ali Marmol and Tyler O'Neill. Yeah. How they were completely
fractured it.
Yes. And You see how people respond, how players respond. It takes a level of maturity for Pavel Buchnevich to be able to accept that, to say, you know what, I do have to be better, and I will be better, and the rest of the team responds in the right way.
That's Carey Davis, Jamie Rivers here, Andrew Marsh on the dials. We're going to have a lot of Blues talk today. I want to talk about Joel Hofer and Jordan Binnington more as the day goes on. Contrary to what Carey believes, I don't think there's a goaltending controversy at all. And we've got a special guest coming up next who had what I would say to be his finest game as a Blues player yet. Scott Perunovich coming up next here on 101 ESPN.
Corner, Neighbors to the blue line. Perunovich walks the line. Neighbors, one-timer, he scores! Jake Neighbors with a one-timer on a sweet feed from Perunovich.
It's a fast lane here on 101 ESPN. Jamie Rivers here, joined by Super Bowl champion Carey Davis and Andrew Marsh working the dials. We head out to the celebrity line right now to be joined by Blues defenseman Scott Perunovich. Scott, how you doing today, bud?
I'm doing good. How are you guys doing?
I'm good. Hey, congratulations on a great game last night. As a team, that was a huge win, wasn't it?
Yeah, huge game. Obviously, divisional against a good team, and big character win there.
So now for you, last night I looked at that, watching you play, and I thought to me it was your most confident game of the season. How are you feeling right now about your game?
Yeah, obviously last night was a big step in the right direction. Try and build on that. I think I might have had some confidence issues in the past, probably since I turned pro. So I think that was a good, real good step.
So Scotty, look, having walked a mile in your shoes, coming in from junior hockey and then playing in the American League and then trying to make that jump to the NHL, it's difficult sometimes to find a rhythm. And I know that when you're playing for a team that's competitive all the time, it's also very difficult because there's certain expectations that are set in place. So how much of a challenge has that been for you? And, how have you worked at kind of becoming more comfortable?
Yeah, I think like you said, the rhythm part, I think obviously the NHL is the best league in the world. So it's tough to string together numerous games in a row and, kind of get into a nice smooth rhythm. So I guess coaching staff does a good job. D coach, our skills coach, just try and work on little things every day, whether that's, picking up rims on your backhand or, trying to shoot the puck more or simple things like that. Just try and get in the groove.
Scott, you talk about confidence and being in a rhythm. I played with Hall of Famers, but I would often tell myself, I was an undrafted rookie, I would often tell myself I'm the best player on the field. I had to psych myself out to believe that. And you're talking about the confidence part. Have you been able to just work through all of that and still believe in the game that you've had your entire career and knowing that at some point this opportunity would present itself?
Yeah, that's funny you say that. Actually, I've been trying to do some reverse psychology on myself.
It works.
Yeah, I think so. I think your mind's obviously a powerful thing, and I think I've been being negative on myself. So even before games, just telling myself you're good enough. You're going to see the right plays. You're going to make the play. I think if you focus on trying not to make mistakes, that's kind of when they come. So I've been trying to focus, change my mentality a little bit, and I think it helps when you picture yourself making the right play. You're gonna do it more often than not.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's the key for you too, Scotty, is just remembering just how good of a player you are and everything that you have accomplished, and then just putting it to practice at the NHL level. Now, that being said, there is big steps from college hockey to the American League, from the American League to the NHL. And I know it took me a while to get adjusted fully, probably 3 or 4 years, in just adjusting to the pace of things that happened on the defensive side. How have you felt about that part of it? Because I always felt like, man, these guys move the puck so well. There's always a guy open. There's just a lot more work to do defensively.
There for sure is. I mean, you blink and, the puck's by you, and I think that was probably my biggest wake-up call is maybe in college or the American League I could get away with it. And, if you have your stick in the wrong position, there's guys here that are always going to find an open play. I think I used to kind of cheat a little bit in college, and I could get away with it, but there's a lot of skill here, and you can get exposed pretty easily. So I think the Dallas game, me and Scandy kind of gelled really well together, and it kind of seemed to be a smooth game. So once you can kind of piggyback on that and get a few in a row, it just kind of goes more naturally, and you're not really thinking about it as much in the D zone.
Now, how important is it, or how essential is it for you to get comfortable with a partner? Because, you talk about Marco Scandella, it's a veteran guy, and Scandy had some really nice things to say about you following last night's game, just the comfort level he has with you and how good you're playing. For you as a younger guy, not a first-year guy by any means, but a younger guy coming in, how important is it to have a good partner and also a good veteran guy like that?
It's huge. Obviously, I'm picking his brain all the time. I'm asking him questions, where do you want me? And he's always saying, I'll read off you. you can see the chemistry come. You can feel it. We can feel it. We sit next to each other in the locker room after the first period. We look at each other. We know, we're flying tonight, and we're working well together. So, I've always loved playing with Scandy, and I think he's liked playing with me. And I think we complement each other's game. Oh, and I think we can. So, he likes to stay. He wants me to jump up in the rush, and he's always says he's protecting me back there. So he says he'll go back in the corner and take the hits so I can, jump up into play. So it's a real good partnership.
Now, Scott, you had a couple of assists last night, had a really good shot on goal that, could have went in, got stopped. What is more exciting for you, scoring a goal, making a big play for one of your teammates, or my personal favorite, laying somebody out?
I don't know about laying someone out, but I've always set up a pretty goal than score it myself. That's always been my thought process, and I think I have to maybe change it a little bit and be more selfish in some scenarios. But it's real hard for me not to try and find the next play and set someone up. But that's something I'll definitely try and change, hopefully sooner than later.
Scott, a couple of young guys last night making a difference, you being one of them, and Joel Hofer being the other guy. Hofer had been playing very, very well last couple of games. He had some great things to say about you, as well as Marco Scandella last night. But how fun is it to see some teammates that you had in Springfield now enjoying success with you here at the NHL level?
I mean, it's so cool. We were down there together, and before we had any NHL games, obviously that's your dream, and we kind of went through everything together down there. We were close, and to see the next job, it's really special, and we all really care about each other, and we want everyone to have success. If it was up to me, Joel would have a shutout every night, and he'd be an all-star, and I'm sure he'll be one in the future. But we're all really glad. There's no selfishness or anything between us. We want the best for everyone, and we all know it too.
Now, Scott, look, coaching changes happen and is what it is, and it's certainly not a question regarding Craig Berube, but this is more guided towards Drew Bannister, and, there's a familiarity there for you. You played for Drew in the American Hockey League, and then he gets the job here, and I know that, there's been a lot of pulling for you from the coaching staff to get you going and to get you playing where they know you can reach, especially the level of play that you can reach. How good has it been to have a familiar face behind the bench in Drew Bannister?
Yeah, we had a really good relationship in the American League. He seems to read me well and, know what to say. And, he pulled me aside a couple of times today and just kind of said a few things about, the game last night. And that's the type of player I am and that I can be every night. And he has full confidence in me. He told me to shoot the puck too, which I'm sure I'll be hearing again soon from him. But, yeah, it's definitely nice. I think we've always had a good relationship, and I think he trusts me, and hopefully I can keep showing him that he can trust me.
Well, buddy, you had a fantastic game last night. You've been playing really well here lately. I will say shoot the puck a little bit more, but that's only because I love you. And just good luck tomorrow night against the Avalanche. Keep this thing going, buddy.
Will do. Thanks, fellas. Appreciate it.
All right, thank you. That was Blues defenseman Scott Perunovich joining us after 2 assists last night. And, awesome. Carey, I love talking to Scott Perunovich because, and I don't say it much to him, but his my junior career and his collegiate career mimic each other a lot. High points, a lot of goals, a lot of assists and things like that. And the hardest part was making the jump to the NHL. Right. And making the jump to the NHL on a good team. Yeah. Like when I got to the NHL, we had Pronger, McInnes, Steve Duchesne. We had guys that were doing the job that I was supposed to do. Right. So for Scott Perunovich, too, he comes into the Blues team. He's got Justin Falk, Nick Leddy, Torrey Krug, these guys that are... So it's not a necessity to have Scott Perunovich on your power play one or being the guy that's driving the offense. So it is more difficult, and it's more difficult to hang on to the game that you know, because you want to start doing things that keep you in the lineup, but not necessarily things that make you a difference maker.
Right. I love talking and listening to younger players because it takes me back to the same mindset. When you are a young player trying to figure out your role on a team, where you fit in, what part of your game translates to what this team needs right now, it's a difficult task, especially if you are a person that is used to scoring goals and now you're asked, okay, we don't need you to do that. We need you to do this. Well, that's not what I do well, Coach. I don't particularly know how to do that really well, but we need you to do it. And if you want to play, you're going to have to do it. And so it's just relearning all of the things that you need to do to be really good and to be a professional. And that's what being a pro is learning how to play that game in that manner. And I'm excited about his future because hearing him talk, you can tell he knows, he understands that this is an opportunity of a lifetime. Anytime you make it to the major leagues, professional baseball, the NHL, NFL, it's a chance of a lifetime. So you want to hold on to that, and I hope he continues to have success and gains more confidence the more he plays.
What I liked hearing about that, too, was I loved hearing about how Marco Scandella is handling this.
Yeah.
So Marco Scandella is a stay-at-home defensive defenseman, good stick, good body, all that stuff. The way he's talking to Scott Perunovich is exactly the way it needs to be.
Yeah.
That's a coach that's coaching, but he's your partner.
Right.
Go back, get the pucks. I will read off you.
Yeah.
You know why that's important? Because Scott Perunovich is supposed to be a difference maker. Mm-hmm. So if you're trying to read off Marco Scandella, what are you actually doing?
Right.
Because Marco Scandella is a pass, one pass, get it out of the zone, that's it.
Right.
No offense to Marco, that's what he is, and he makes good money doing it. But Scott Perunovich, you're a difference maker.
You can do more.
So it's so important that Scott Perunovich knows that his partner is literally going, hey, listen, you do you. I'll pick up the pieces.
Correct. That's awesome.
I think he's got a really good head on his shoulders, too. He's part of a winning culture when he was in college at Duluth, and they went on a run. So he knows what type of player he needs to be at the professional level. And to your point, Jamie, I think there could be a discussion about Marco Scandella separately and what he's done this year compared to where he was the previous years.
Well, he's healthy.
He's healthy. I feel like this is as close as we've seen Marco Scandella to the point before the bubble when he ended up getting the contract extension. He's been great, and he hasn't been like, he's not noticeable. Right, which can be a good thing.
He's perfect.
So there could be a separate conversation for that. But as far as Scott Perunovich, I like what I've seen so far from Scott Perunovich, and I hope that he can end up being the player that we expected him to be when he was drafted and being a Hobie Baker Award winner.
Yeah, I'm pulling for him for sure. He's a great kid. He's kind of quiet and a little bit shy when he does these interviews, and you can kind of hear it a little bit.
You can tell that he's a younger player, too.
But he's not. Yeah. Trust me. He's a good kid. He's got a lot of energy, and his teammates like him a lot. So
I'm rooting for him. All
the best to Scott Perunovich. We thank him again for joining us here in the Fast Lane. Next, we're going to talk about something that I think is always up for debate, and I'm so happy to have a former NFL player in here to talk about the 2024 NFL Hall of Fame class and who should get in. That's next here on 101 ESPN.
Cheap, fun.
New Year's Eve right around the corner, and it's still holiday season. I mean, who's kidding who? Some of you are still sitting at home celebrating the holiday. I know I would be. That's why it's the perfect time for Dirt Cheap, your one-stop shop for all things party. And if you're looking for your favorite beers, they've got you covered with cans, bottles, you name it. Dirt Cheap has it there, and they've got a great price on it. How about wines? Think about some of the wines you enjoy the most. Dirt Cheap has them. Whether they're high-end or medium or even low-end, everybody's got a different preference. Dirt Cheap has you covered. And again, reduced prices. They've got all sorts of specials. And then, of course, the good stuff, the spirits, whether it's vodka, rum, or my favorite, the bourbons. They got the Angel's Envy. They've got Elijah Craig. The Angel's Envy finished rye. Let me tell you, that is a go-to at the Rivers House. I absolutely love it. I put one big giant ice cube in there, little Angel's Envy finished rye. And then I called Dirt Cheap again and said, hey, guys, I need more of that. It is awesome. And I don't worry about it because the price is always right. And I've got the app, too. The Dirt Cheap app, and that sends me all sorts of notifications on specials and deals that are coming up and certain contests that might be available. And you can really, really profit by downloading the app and using it as much as possible. And that's Dirt Cheap. Remember, have fun, but be careful out there.
ESPN Sports Center.
I'm Andrew Marsh. It's time for a Sports Center update driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. The Blues defeated the Stars last night by a final score of 2-1. Joel Hofer, who was in between the pipes, he stopped 39 of 40. And Scott Perunovich, who we just got done talking to, had 2 assists in last night's win. Chris Kerber will join us at 3:15 today, so we'll talk with Kerbs about last night's game. But once again, Blues 2, Stars 1. The Blues will be back in action tomorrow, taking on the Colorado Avalanche. Pregame starts at 6. Puck drop is at 7. You can catch all the action right here on 101 ESPN. Tonight, we have Thursday Night Football. It's the Cleveland Browns and the New York Jets. Pregame for that one starts at 6:30. We're going to dive into the NFL Hall of Fame class, all the finalists, who should get in. We'll talk about it next. I'm Andrew Marsh, and the Sports Center update is driven by Johnny Londoff. Find new roads and shop 24/7 at londoff.com and londoffautoplex.com. Are you kidding me?
Welcome back here to the Fast Lane on 101 ESPN. Time check is 2:36. That's brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an official provider of Rolex jewelry. All right, it is a fun time of year. The NFL has released the candidates for the 2024 NFL Football Hall of Fame. And there's always a lot of debate when it comes to any Hall of Fame in any sport, but I feel like football's somewhat unique. And the reason I feel that way, and I was just telling Carey Davis this, is you have the offensive guys and the defensive guys. And it's hard to decipher sometimes what outweighs the other when it comes to impact of that player in their career. So here's a game we're going to play here in the Fast Lane because we are lucky we have an expert in Carey Davis, who's a Super Bowl champion and played alongside and against many Hall of Famers. So Carey's going to give us, you're allowed 5 people, right? Is the number?
Yep.
So 5 people. And Andrew Marsh and I are going to follow Carey and either agree with him or disagree. But we better pack a lunch if we're disagreeing.
I like it.
Does that sound fine
Sounds
to you,
great
Carey?
to me. Yep.
Okay, so hang on. Let me grab a pen here because I somehow became unequipped.
There you go.
All right. Okay, Carey Davis, Hall of Fame. Oh, there's my other pen. Never mind. Class of 2024. Carey Davis, your first inductee.
So when I'm looking at these lists, it's obviously they all are worthy of making it, right? I think the important thing is to decipher which one of these people are no-brainers. And for me, there are 2 people that I think are no-brainers. You only have to think about it. The first one would be Antonio Gates. I don't think that that's a question when you're looking at this list in terms of his impact at the tight end position for how many years he played. One of the best tight ends to play the game. I mean, he's I think that's a no-brainer when you're looking at this ballot right here.
Okay, so let me ask you this. One, it's a no-brainer for me. Marsh, I figure it's a no-brainer for you, right?
Yes,
okay.
Antonio Gates is on my list.
So we're all in agreement. Antonio Gates gets on the list. And we'll even put him at number 1 because I think he is probably the number 1 guy. Where does Antonio Gates rate or rank for you? And I know this is the big magical question. In tight ends all time. And Carey, I know you know tight ends.
It has shifted here in the last 5 years or so, because initially
a guy named Gronk that came into the conversation.
Gronk, Travis Kelce, maybe George Kittle is knocking at the door. Like those are
I don't think Kelce's close to Gronk for several reasons. Several. Travis Kelce is a damn fine receiver. He's not a damn fine tight end.
Well, he plays tight end.
He plays it, but
he plays the position.
If you're lining up and you're running a play, so you know the running game, okay? And you're running a play. Block. And you got to have a guy that's leading up there on the outside block. Is it Rob Gronkowski or Travis Kelce?
But if I need a play made downfield and we're talking about making plays.
You don't think Gronk is making plays?
I love Gronk. But how
many Super Bowl catches for Gronk?
You would not get an argument from me if you chose Travis Kelce. So that's why the tight end position
But I encompass everything, Carey. So I'm not just about the flash,
I'm with
okay,
you,
buddy?
Man. But
I know Taylor Swift gives him a bump. I get it.
That actually gives him a bump in the other way. That actually goes the other way for me.
Marshy, there was a black Tesla out in the parking lot. It's got gold trim on it. I don't know, it's random. It was
tinted
bumping.
windows.
It was bumping Taylor Swift. I could not believe it.
Who was driving that?
I have no idea.
That's crazy.
Either way.
Tight ends, the list of tight ends, Tony Gonzalez, Shannon Sharp. I mean, Antonio Gates is in that conversation.
He's got to be, right?
He is. And so, but again, like I said, you add some of those other names in, but for this Hall of Fame class, Antonio Gates is the number 1 for me.
That shouldn't take away, like the way that the game is played now, the tight ends now, shouldn't take away what he did in his era, though,
No,
right?
that's a big mistake that a lot of people make. Because they start to universally change the requirement of the position because of where it's at.
Are you looking at baseball?
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. So, all right, so that's number 1.
His F4 is 3.4, and,
Before we run out of time, because we do that around here.
It happens.
Who's your second pick?
My number 2 pick is going to be another guy that I think is a no-brainer, and that's Julius Peppers.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's easy.
No debate.
I think with those two, now you just got to find 3 more and it becomes very difficult.
Marshy, any debate on Julius Peppers?
No, I mean, this is tough. I didn't have him in my top 5.
Really?
No.
Did you ever watch Julius
No, you probably
play?
didn't watch him very much.
Well, there's a lot of guys on here that I didn't really get to watch during their heyday.
So who do you have on there? Go with your number 2.
My number 2, I mean, these aren't in any order.
Okay.
I just wrote down from, I'm looking at the list on this website we're looking at, but I had Dwight Freeney on there. I thought he was an integral part of those Colts teams.
No, I don't either. And I played with Dwight, and Dwight is like a guy. Listen, Dwight Freeney, you talk about a freak of nature, a guy I've never in my life seen somebody move so fast. My first attempt to block him, I missed. And the running back coach, I thought he was going to be mad. I thought he was going to be pissed off. He laughed at me. He said, "Don't worry about it. Nobody blocks him." Like, wait, what? He spun, and before I could realize that I couldn't touch him, he was in the backfield patting the quarterback on the hip. It's just, he's a different animal. But I don't know that I got him on my
I don't have him in my 5.
And it hurts my heart to say
I know.
that.
Now, I have Torrey Holt on here.
Oh, boy.
I'm being
Honestly,
I'm catering in the city.
I'll be honest. You can honestly go any of those receivers. Torrey Holt probably deserves, he definitely deserves to be in. But you're looking at him on this list of receivers, and he's behind Reggie Wayne. He's behind
a tough crop this year.
Andre Johnson.
I did want to put I do have Andre Johnson on here. And my 5th one, I put Eric Allen, just because the guy's been waiting since who knows how long.
I don't.
Do you take that into consideration?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I don't. I just go by what I see in game-changing players. So for me, Torrey Holt will probably be on there. I want to put Patrick Willis in, but
Torrey Holt for me is a Hall of Famer. I don't know if he's this year.
Yeah.
Who's one guy on here that you do not think should be on the ballot? Like,
That's
just
tough.
I can't say that they shouldn't be on the ballot, because I think they're all deserving of it. If I were, Rodney Harrison would probably be the name that you would say.
But he's got the Super Bowls, right?
Yeah, who cares? That's a team effort.
Right. What about Devin Hester?
Devin Hester,
So I think he should be
in.
He's a unicorn.
Yeah.
I feel like he's a name that should be in our top 5.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he will, because it's such a specific position.
Yeah, but
punt
isn't that
return,
what it's
kick
about?
return. They don't care about special teams. Nobody cares about special teams. Coaches talk about it. We got to be great in 3 phases: punt, special teams, offense, defense. We got to be great in all 3 phases, and they don't. Some do, most don't. You know, we
not a difference
great
maker,
teams
though?
care, because
definitely is. Devin Hester changed how teams approached the kicking game.
I mean, they literally changed the rule. Now, that was probably for protection purposes, but
you didn't want to kick it to him, man.
no.
they
And the
did
Colts
anything but
did, and he
kick to him.
scored in the
You don't
first
wanna kick
kickoff
it
of the
to him.
Super Bowl.
And he did so much.
We're up against it. Carey,
right.
give us our next 3. We'll let
All
you
right.
roll it out here. Your 3rd pick.
I'm going to go Torrey Holt. I'm going to go. I know I did, but I got to go because it is the hometown. And then I'm going to. Jared, probably going to go Reggie Wayne.
Reggie Wayne is a good pick.
I think that's a good pick. I don't have any problem. And
My heart of hearts, because this man doesn't get enough credit and should have been in on this list many, many moons ago, is going to be Fred Taylor.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
This is
It's just because he's a running back, isn't it?
It probably.
Okay.
Yeah, it probably is.
I don't have Fred Taylor on.
Anthony would have
I
voted
have
him
Jared
in.
Allen.
I don't have Jared.
I
Like,
have
I
Jared
can't
Allen.
have Jared above Dwight.
Now, I understand that, but I can. I feel like they both had that kind of an impact.
Now, Jared Allen is a freak of nature as well.
Uh-huh.
He chased down one of my teammates on kickoff, and we still laugh about it. He's a running back, and he chased him down.
Well, why not? He's on the field, right?
He was a freak. He just doesn't stop running.
I had Jared Allen on there. I feel like he was deserving. And you had your last one was Fred Taylor?
Yep.
All right. So there you have it, is the Fast Lane Football Hall of Fame nominees for 2024. I'm sure there'll be lots of debate between now and when it's actually picked, which is always fun. All right, we're going to jump back into the St. Louis Blues. And is this what we should expect to see from the Blues moving forward? Well, we'll figure that out next here in the Fast Lane on 101 ESPN.
When it comes to making plans, you are the best. What about those round trips that you plan in advance, which are perfect on your way there and perfect on your way back? Or those meetings with friends for which you make a group chat 3 months before so that nobody or anything is missing? Or your daughter's first birthday party. You planned it with such dedication that instead of the first, it felt like our 15s. The same way you plan each detail for those moments. Start planning to protect you and your loved ones from a natural disaster. Sign up for local weather and emergency alerts. Prepare an emergency kit and make a family communications plan. Protecting your family is the best plan you can make. Get started at ready.gov/plan.
Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Make organizing your home your first New Year's resolution with help from Menards. Keep your garage and workspace organized with Rubbermaid. Fast-track garage storage systems make it easy to use wall space to hang tools and equipment. Get an adjustable 8-piece wall-mounted garage storage kit for just $46.99. Check out this and more great deals going on now during Menards New Year's sale. Prices good through December 31st.
Save big money at Menards.
You might have heard Doug Voss and Safe Money Radio. His shows have been on several radio stations for many years. Now he can be heard every Sunday from 10 to 11 a.m. on 101 ESPN. He is super excited to get to the ESPN audience as he is a huge St. Louis sports fan. Doug is an expert at minimizing the impact of market volatility on his clients' assets. So catch Safe Money Radio every Sunday at 10 a.m. on 101 ESPN. Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through D.H. Hill Securities, LLLP, member FINRA and SIPC.
Welcome back to the Fast Lane here on 101 ESPN. We're going to talk a little more about the Blues from last night. And, you know, we didn't really dive into, I guess, overall what this team has looked like under Drew Bannister. At least today we haven't. But is this something, the effort we saw last night and the effort we saw in the comeback game against Chicago, and really out of the 5 victories that they have under Drew Bannister, is that something we should expect from now on for the Blues?
I would hope so. I mean,
I know it's what we expect, but do we think let me word it differently. Yes, we need to expect
Yes.
that. Is it something that is attainable?
Well, they're still the same players that they were earlier this year.
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, they are. They haven't. They're still the same people. And I guess the problem that I have or trouble understanding is what has changed, other than the head coach, which I think everyone pretty much agrees.
Which is painful.
You didn't have to. That shouldn't have been the thing that caused you to play better or play more consistent, but it is. And so maybe it's a familiarity with Bannister that the younger players have. Maybe they're feeling a little bit more confident. Maybe he exudes more confidence in some of them. Maybe the message is different. You know, for as a coach, some players need different. You don't have to coddle people, but some people you have to just pat on the back a little bit more than beating them over the head with a stick. And so it's maybe that's what's changed. But I hope. I'm hopeful. Again, I told you yesterday, I'm cautiously optimistic about this team continuously playing in this manner, and they're showing it. 5 out of 6 games is really good, but can they sustain that? The only way to know is to see and watch.
I think even if they do, let's say they lose to the Colorado Avalanche, but it's a tight game. Like, I just want to see tight hockey games. Unless the Blues are blowing a team out, of course. But, like, these like 6-1 loss, that's where I'm like, all right, are they really making progress here, or are they going back to what we saw last season, a little bit of what we saw at the beginning of this season? So I think even if they do lose in these games coming up, we got I'd say it's a pretty difficult schedule.
Oh, yeah.
For the most part.
This is a tough schedule coming up for
Tough schedule, so we're going to see what this team's made of. If they do well in this stretch of games, I think everyone should absolutely be right back on the bandwagon for the Blues.
The question I would have, are they good enough? I mean, we understand you can play out of your mind, but when you're facing a team that is better, they have better athletes, better team, they're a better group of guys than you, are they good enough to sustain this versus teams that are better than them?
Yeah, probably not overall. Okay. And hear me out when I say this, because when you look at the top end on some of these other teams, the top 6 forwards, the top 2 defensemen, there's a gap. There's a gap there. Now, Robert Thomas and that line is playing very well. But if you took those 3 guys and you put them in Colorado right now, they'd be second line.
Right.
And it's crazy to think that.
Yeah.
But you got Rantanen, McKinnon, and then whoever else you want on that line for the Avalanche. You know, when Landeskog is healthy, he goes there. And that's just Thomas, Kyrou, and Buchnevich would be your second line.
Right.
In Toronto, they'd be your second line. In Dallas, probably be your second line.
So those teams are better.
So those teams, but here's where it is. The high end is a little higher, but then the low end is lower.
Right.
This is where I think the Blues can do their damage is with depth. And so although you may not have, some of the top 10 most dynamic players in the league, it's fine. You go out there and you compete and you play the game the way you have to, because your second, third, and fourth line, specifically your third and fourth line, have an opportunity to outplay the opposition's bottom lines.
Right.
And it's only one game, right? It's not like it's a playoff series. You can go out on any given night, put the consistency, the hard work in, and then play a very structured game. And I feel like you can beat these teams with better talent on the ice.
I agree.
You don't need to beat them 4 times in 7 games. It's not the playoffs yet. So you just build that until you eventually get into playoff hockey.
And the Avalanche are on a serious roller coaster this year. I don't know what to make of the Avalanche. And the reason I bring them up is a couple of reasons. Is one, they're supposed to be one of, if not the most talented team in the NHL. They do sit at the top of the Central Division with 45 points, but the wheels have kind of been falling off for them here a little bit. Devon Toews on record saying last week that following a win, too. Imagine following a win, one of your leaders saying, there's guys out here that think they're playing good and they're just kidding themselves.
We had a conversation. Didn't we hear that here at one point?
Yeah.
But it was on a team that wasn't
not good.
having success.
It's not good.
Yeah.
And so then last night you look at a team that literally fell apart.
Yeah.
They fell apart. They had what was it? What kind of a lead did they have there on on the Coyotes. I think they were 4-0.
4-0.
Yeah, I think 5-4 game in overtime.
Yeah, 5-4 game in overtime. And old Georgiev there, your favorite, Carey, he's over smashing his stick on the boards at the old Mullet Arena. One, don't disrespect a Mullet Arena like that. What has Arizona State ever done to you, Georgiev?
You know what? If Jordan Bennington would have done that,
oh, gosh.
the internet would have blown up. Greg Wyshynski would have been all over Twitter.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But it's not him. Like, why is that?
Just because that's the narrative surrounding. But my point going back to the Avalanche is that, 4-0 lead with that kind of a team.
Yeah.
There's no way.
You shouldn't
There's
lose
no
that
way you lose
Right.
that. There's no way. So the Avalanche have got their own problems going on. And the Blues' record against the Dallas Stars this year has been great.
Right.
You lost the first game in a shootout. You win the next one. You win last night. You're winning right now. I think you got one more game against the Stars towards the end of the season, but you're proving that overall your team can compete.
You can compete. You have, and the Blues beat this Avalanche team 8-2 at one point earlier this year, right?
Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah, it's madness.
I was in there with John Kelly and I after the first period. I forget what the score was. It was something crazy. We put our headsets down and we backed away and we're like, did not see that coming.
And so, again, I think this team, that's the frustrating thing about it, though, is that they're more than capable, right? But are you going to put it together over and over and over again? And again, like Marcy said, it doesn't have to result in a win. But as long as it's the effort and the energy, and you've been saying that for the last 5-6 games. So I do believe that they can go out there tomorrow and get a W.
Yeah, so for me, the key to it all is continuing to compete on a consistent level. If this team doesn't compete and doesn't work hard and doesn't play tough defensively, the high-end talent is not enough to drag you across the goal line against teams that are better.
Right.
You have to compete. You got to win this game in the trenches, and you got to win it with discipline. And discipline doesn't necessarily mean penalties and power plays and things like that. It means sticking to the game plan, not veering off the course when things go a little bit sideways.
Yeah.
And I think that the Blues, at the start of the season, and certainly last year, when things started to go sideways, everybody kind of went off on their own program, and you could tell because the results weren't there and it didn't look the right way. Mm-hmm. So hopefully they put it together again tomorrow night against the Avalanche, because that's a big divisional game. We're going to get into the Cardinals here next. We haven't talked about the Cardinals much, and the 6-1 hate was terribly mad at us yesterday for not talking about something useless regarding the Cardinals. But what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the year in review. How much of a blank show season was the Cardinals last year? That's coming up here on 101 ESPN. Wrestling here, 101 ESPN. Jamie Rivers, Carey Davis, Andrew Marsh, and the year in review. Last year was a very interesting season for the Cardinals, to say the least. From a wins and losses standpoint, it was certainly interesting in a bad way. And then there was more drama surrounding this Cardinals team than any year I can remember. So many different things that were going on. And so Katie Wu, our friend here at 101 ESPN, and she's a writer at The Athletic, she came up with the 10 moments or 10 quotes from this season of just how crazy it was. Our guy Andrew Marsh is going to pick a handful of them, and we're going to react to them. And feel free to react as well. Jump in on the Air Comfort Service text line 314-399-9646, whether it's your personal experience, what you thought of something that happened, or a reaction to one of these quotes, or jump on the mic drop feature. 101 ESPN, the mobile app. If you have a reaction to one of these quotes that we don't answer properly, then send us a message. Click the little microphone, leave us a mic drop, and we'll certainly get that on the air, and we'll talk to you via the mic drop. So, Marcia, what do you got for us?
All right, I'm going to start off with the number 3 quote on here. This is from Paul Goldschmidt to Ollie Marmol before the Cards fell to last place in the division on April 18th. He said, "Hey, this is frustrating, but it's bound to turn at some point." And as the narrator said, it did not change.
Oh, it did not.
I mean, are we still waiting?
What day was that?
Still waiting,
April 8th,
right?
April 18th.
Yeah, no, that was still early.
That was what they were 7 and 10 at that point.
They still
It would have
had
been worse if
hope.
it was August 18th.
At least it was early. All right? April 18th. I think we all still held out hope that this would turn around.
Yeah.
But then we got to like 10 and 24, I believe, and that was it's
crazy.
Yeah.
We didn't have pitchers that were going past the second inning at one point.
It was bad. Yeah. That was an interesting quote. I mean, you got to believe, though.
He's a leader. It's early. Again, if that was August, I'd say he was,
a little delusional.
Yeah. He's a little crazy on that one, but we'll give Goldie a pass on that one.
To continue off of that quote, not too far after that, Nolan Arenado reflected on the first month of the season. At the point, they had a 10-19 record, the worst start to the season since 1973. He said collectively, really bad baseball. Right now, the theme is just the slow start. So I think moving forward for this upcoming year, that's the most important thing, is getting off to a good start. But it's going to be tough because they have some tough games to start off the year.
They have a really tough schedule to start off the year.
Yeah.
Hey, New York.
The Dodgers is their
Dodgers.
They've got the Evil Empire as their first series.
Yeah.
But, yeah, again, with this quote, it's early in the season. They're a month into it. Arenado is a leader on this team. He's a perennial all-star / future Hall of Famer. You have to expect there to be optimism in their quotes. So far, not too bad. Marshy, what's next?
Well, of course, we had the whole Wilson Contreras debacle. He said, "It seems like I'm going to DH more than catching, which is not my decision, but I have to get used to it." Wilson Contreras then, sat out maybe 5 games at catcher?
I don't think it was that many. I think it might have been.
Something
What's
that.
the date for that one?
So that was on May 6th.
Yeah, that's when it was crumbling at that point.
The best part of that entire quote is the next day, the next morning, John Mozeliak goes on record and says, "No, he won't be in the outfield.
Yeah.
He'll DH and catch."
You know how I envisioned that taking place? I figured that a phone call came and said, "Hey, yeah, no, I didn't pay him to do that."
Yeah.
So, but that's what's but I know I hear what you're saying. But what I paid him for is what you asked me to pay him for. So what we're going to do is what you paid me, what you told me to pay him for, and that's what we're going to do.
I think that was the first sign of Ollie and Mo not necessarily being on the same page, because I think Ollie talked to Wilson Contreras. This is just me assuming things. Educated guess, mind you, and certain people surrounding the team have confirmed certain things, but still, we'll just say it's my opinion. is that Ollie talked to Wilson Contreras and said, hey, we might try you in the outfield while we work on some things. Wilson Contreras to talk to the media and then probably, boop, speed dial to Mo and be like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And then Mo called Ollie and said, what did you say?
That's not what we discussed.
I have 87.5 million reasons why he's not playing in the outfield.
Let me tell you that.
So another quote, which actually came a few days before that, was from Jack Flaherty. I think everyone remembers the little blow-up that he had, about the art of pitching.
Poor Jackie Pants.
He said, we're all effing frustrated. What I'm gathering from all of these quotes is, I mean, they were in a deep, dark place around late April, early May, and they just could not get themselves to get out of that hole.
You know why?
Because they were bad?
They're not used to it.
Yeah.
That's
They're not
true.
used to it. So we talked about, I forget what situation. Anthony and I were laughing because somebody wasn't used to it.
He doesn't know what to do.
Well, yeah, that's the team, the Miracle movie, right? Where the Russian coach has no idea what to do because they're losing.
Right.
It's same thing for the Cardinals. This franchise, the modern franchise, meaning the last decade, doesn't know what losing is.
Never experienced something like that.
Nobody surrounding that clubhouse could describe what was going on or how they felt or what to do because they hadn't lived it.
No.
So that's why there's such a dark hole / crazy, like what the hell's going on?
I think somebody should have been able to see the writing on the wall, though. At some point, you got to gather the truth. Hey, fellas.
Yeah, sometimes when you're in it, you don't see it.
Everybody else saw it. We are.
Okay.
We're
sometimes when you're in it, maybe you don't want to believe it.
you really believe that we're okay. We'll get out of it. I've been there too. It's not a real place.
You can be delusional sometimes.
It's not a real place, man.
No.
It's bad.
No.
All right, we got one more here. This one is probably the most important moving forward, and this one is from Ollie Marmol. We cannot repeat what happened this year. That was on October 1st, reflecting on the Cardinals' worst season in 30 years.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, you can't repeat it. I mean, if you repeat it, then everybody needs to lose their jobs.
And that's usually what happens.
I hate to say that. I don't like to fire people. It's not my spot to fire people. But if you have a repeat of what happened last year, like somebody's not doing their job right. And it might be that several people aren't doing their job right.
Well, if you repeat what happened last year, I mean, Ollie Marmol is going into the final year of his contract. Probably won't be renewed.
He won't, yeah.
And so you understand that from a professional level. We've played, you've been around it a long time. This is part of the nature of the sport. If you don't take care of your business, you will have no business to take care of. So they all have to perform better. There are going to be some players that will still be there because contractually that's how it goes.
Yeah.
And then there will be some players also that won't be re-signed or won't get a new contract or won't have an opportunity to be on this team in 2025 if they perform at the same way next season as they did in 2023.
If there's a fork in the road at, let's just say, a little bit before the trade deadline and they need to decide whether or not, let's say they're not playing great ball. They're not playing terribly, but they're kind of like what the Blues were at. Let's just say they're kind of where the Blues were at. Do you think they go in the direction of moving on from Ollie? Because other than the whole Matheny-Schilt situation, we never really saw that out of this ownership group. Or do you think they go out and try and get better pieces for the team? Which route do you think they'd go?
I think if they are in the way that they were in 2023, by the trade deadline in 2024, you might be looking, not worrying about Ollie, you might be looking at the third baseman and the first baseman.
Yeah.
And not because you want them gone, but because one of them may say, hey, this is not what I signed up for.
So
Get
let
me
me ask
somewhere
you
where
this,
I can
though.
be and win.
Let me ask you this. When you say you're not where you want to be, how far out of a playoff spot are you at that point? Because I do feel like it matters in this discussion.
10 games.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, like 9 to 12 games.
If you're 9 to 12 games out of a playoff spot,
Yes.
not just out of first place, then it's a wholesale.
Yeah.
One, I don't even think you let Ollie go. You keep him, you ride it out because you're paying him anyways. And then you move on from Arenado, you move on from Goldie. Who else can we trade? Who else can we get rid of at this point? Because you might as well. I don't know.
Something in return.
An 8, or maybe it's a player that's having, like maybe Brendan Donovan's having a great year. He's kind of on an island having a great year. I guess my point is just sell off. Get young assets in return, because if you took another swing at it with this team and it fell flat again, you're that far out, This team is not what you thought it was.
It's bad at that point.
Yeah, 100%. And that's when you have to make some really tough decisions. And I would even anticipate that the DeWitts move Mo to a different spot within the organization and try to get a fresh set of eyeballs and a new brain to try and right the ship at that point. Now, we're getting a little far ahead of ourselves.
We are.
We're firing everybody and trading people. The season, spring training
fun, though.
hasn't even started yet. Winter warm-up hasn't even come upon us yet.
We got to talk about why the Cardinals are letting everybody down. That's what the 6-1 hate wanted to talk about. And there you go.
It was a letdown, man. It was especially coming off of the Blues season. You were so excited about Cardinal baseball.
Yeah.
You got to start where it started. I got to start where it started, right? The Blues had a rough season.
They shouldn't have left.
Them too. The origin is back then. But the Blues had a struggling season, and then you're so excited for the Cardinals, and then that just kind of goes in the way that it did.
100%.
It was a terrible year of sports.
It really, really hurt to be a St. Louis sports fan in the last year, the last season, where you've got the Blues and then the Cardinals.
Don't forget City, though.
City SC was a bright spot. They absolutely were, but then they broke our hearts,
They did.
too.
Yeah.
They lost 2 in a row in the playoffs, which I did not see coming.
No, sir.
And they lost to a rival, so that hurts, too. I don't like the fact that they lost to Sporting KC or whatever.
Yeah.
Not fun. So hopefully the year ahead means the Blues are going to continue to play good hockey and make a playoff push as far as getting into the playoffs. And hopefully the Cardinals have a much better start to their season, because if they don't have a good start, we know where it's headed from there.
It's going to be rough.
It's going to be a rough time for sure. All right, we're going to have a little chat here with the voice of the Blues, Chris Kerber. He was on the call last night, and I'm sure he's got some interesting takes on the Blues and the game last night and moving forward. So that's Chris Kerber coming up next year on 101 ESPN.
voice of the Blues, Chris Kerber. Brought to you by Scott Lee Heating Company, a proud Mitsubishi Electric Elite contractor.
It's a fast lane here on 101 ESPN. We head out to the celebrity line now to be joined by the voice of the Blues, Chris Kerber. Kerbs, how are we doing today, bud?
Jamie, doing well. How are you today?
I'm good. I'm really good, especially following a gutty win last night by the Blues. You on the call last night right here on 101 ESPN. Kerbs, just a couple of takeaways from last night's game before we go anywhere else.
Well, I kind of thought, Jamie, at the beginning of the season that this was a hockey team that was going to have to find a way to win some of those 2-1, 3-2 kind of games. Now, we've seen far more games won or lost by 3 goals this season than we've seen won or lost by 1 goal. So I thought it was a great game to come out of the break with. Hofer was fantastic. Kevin Hayes really led the way, I think, with a simple game that was successful, especially in the third period. And they just as you said, gutted out a terrific 2-1 victory, and now they picked up points in all 3 games now against the Dallas Stars. So this team knows they can play with the top teams. They've just got to go consistently every night.
Curbs, these are the same players. Well, and hello, how are you? I know you're not used to hearing me in the afternoon. Good afternoon, Curbs. How are you?
Gary, I'm good. Hey, you sound good in the afternoon.
I feel much better. I got a little bit more sleep. Yeah, a little bit more sleep going on here. Curbs, these are the same players as was on the roster when Craig Ruby was leading this team. What has changed so much? Is it just the bump that you get from a coaching change? Is it philosophical? Or is it just guys doing what they have always been expected to do?
That's a fantastic question. I actually said that to a couple of the media guys that were at the practices today as well. I said, this is the same team. And in some respects, it's the same lines.
Yeah.
The same lineup. I think that in going 5-1, you've seen the power play be impactful in 3 of the 6 games. I think that's probably a big help. I mean, I'd hate to hang it all on the power play. It doesn't seem like that would be right. But, boy, a slightly different power play is success rate could have meant the difference in a few games, which is all the difference in the world. I mean, 3 games go a different way, and you're talking about challenging for or if not being in the top 3, challenging for a top 3 spot in this division. So it's actually a question, Carey, that I don't have the answer to because it is the same group of guys. So is it a different voice? Is it some guys that, are a little more free with a fresh start? It could be, now the question is if that's the case, then how long does that bump last, right? Until things kind of find, what normal is again. So it's a fantastic question, and I have absolutely no good answer for it, if I'm being real honest with you.
Yeah, well, it's a tough one. It is. When you look at things just on the surface, it's tough to actually have the answer to that. But Curbs, one direction I wanted to go in here is a couple of things. Is Joel Hofer now has put together 2 really good games in a row. He was a difference maker in the Florida game, and obviously last night was a massive difference maker for the Blues as they hung on to the victory against the Dallas Stars. There's a lot of people buzzing around today talking about maybe goaltender controversy, things like that. I am not of that belief at all. I think that Jordan Binnington is solid in his spot, but I do think that it is awesome that Joel Hofer is playing as well as he is.
Well, and if this team is going to play impactful games in the second half of the season, it's going to be important that Joel Hofer continues that. So first off, you're looking at him being in 3 straight games now where he's played really well, and that includes coming in to that Tampa game, and only allowing the 1 goal, which he really could not do much about. So I think it was an interesting choice to go ahead and start Joel in last night's game, because it basically means that Joe would be playing 2 out of the first 3 games out of the break, because I don't see you unless you absolutely have to. You're not going back-to-back Binnington in these next 2 games. We're playing Colorado one night, then Pittsburgh, the next night on the road. So, for me, Jamie, I don't go into that camp as well either. I believe Jordan Binnington is the starting goaltender for this team. He'll be fine. He was dialed into practice today. When you watch it, it was I think, a really good practice for him today as well. But you're right. You're going to need Joel Hofer to do that. When you're talking about, having, 38 games to go what we played? We played 34, right?
Yes, sir.
So you've got 48 games, 48 games to go.
Good math, Curbs.
If you're going to do something in that second half and play meaningful games, and meaningful games mean, get into the final 25 games with the playoffs on the line, right? Almost as if that becomes your playoffs. If you're going to play meaningful games in the second half, I think Joel Hofer is going to have to play the way he's played in the last 3 games for, a solid another, 15, 18 of those games. So they're going to need him in a big way to play that way when he's in these games to give themselves a chance.
Curbs, talk to me about some of these younger players. You got Hofer, you just spoke about, Neighbors, Toropchenko, Perunovich. What are you seeing from this young core that is allowing them to have success?
Well, Scott Perunovich is playing with some confidence. We talked to him on the broadcast after the game last night. And for him, it was just a matter of Scott staying healthy and getting a chance to feel comfortable and start to figure out what his game is like in the NHL. And he's figuring that out. And you are clearly seeing a defenseman, maybe the best Blues defenseman in terms of that first pass out of the zone when he has the puck on his stick. Toropchenko solidifying himself in that third-line role, playing smart hockey. Maybe not as strong of a game last night as the coaches would like him to have, but he's earned, a little flexibility to have, a little, bow in his game. So I love the way he's blocking shots. He blocked one with his nose against Chicago. He came across the middle, blocked another one last night that could have been a great scoring chance. So, he's playing extremely well in there as well. Jake Neighbors, man, he just doesn't make mistakes a whole lot. He might get into the mode of trying to pass too much because he's got a good shot. Sometimes he'll go, run himself with that youthful exuberance into the wall, or fall down a little bit. But Jake Neighbors is playing terrific hockey. If somebody wants to find out how a young player comes in and can make a difference and how you try to make yourself uncuttable on an NHL team, Jake Neighbors is showing everybody how to do that this year. Started in a fourth line role, and look at the identity line originally that they had with him and Blais and Sonny. Moved up right when other guys weren't performing as well. Took advantage of that. Slid back down with the coaching change. Then moved up a line. Like every spot he's been in, he's delivered what the coaches need. It's been a great season for Jake.
Curbs, obviously the Blues have some big games coming up, but we won't look too far down the road. We'll just look at the next game period, which is against the Colorado Avalanche that find themselves at the top of the Central Division, but there has been some chaos surrounding this team to where Devon Taves calling out his own teammates following a win, and then last night having a 4-0 lead on the Arizona Coyotes and the wheels falling off. I mean, what do you make of this Avalanche team?
It's interesting when a player calls out teammates after a win, isn't it?
It's weird.
Because the wins are important, but really good players know that you get the wins by playing a certain way. And when somebody's calling out teammates after a win, you know that, hey, we got a win tonight, but we're still not playing right, and that's going to bite us in the butt. They're not getting the goaltending that they need. They gave up a massive lead, a 4-0 lead to Arizona at the Mullet last night. That was insane if you go back and watch that game. Colorado is showing, a little bit of inconsistency. Teams can take advantage of it if they jump on them. To me, Jamie, you go into that game against Colorado, and Carey just asked about the young guys. I think you've got to look across the board at the veterans on this hockey team, and there's more for most of them to give. There's better execution. There's smarter play, smart decisions with the puck. If this team, going back to even just the comments about Joel Hofer and what you're going to need from him, again, if you're going to go play meaningful games heading into the second half, the veteran players on this hockey team are going to have to lead the way. And it's against teams like Colorado tomorrow night, where if you play the game the right way and you make the right decisions, you've got a good chance to beat them because you've got enough skill on this team. It's just going to have to be, can you pull it off? And Colorado is one of the best teams in the league to capitalize when you make mistakes. So you've got to play a very good, disciplined, strong smart game. Take what they give you, put the puck in when you have to put it in. Don't turn it over at the lines, and see what happens. But yeah, they seem to be a little fragile right now.
Yeah, they sure do. Well, Curbs, great stuff, man. As always, appreciate your take. We'll be listening to you on the call tomorrow night here on 101 ESPN. And have yourself a great day, my friend.
All right, guys. Have a great rest of your week. Happy New Year to everybody, and we'll see everybody at the rink tomorrow night.
All right, thanks a lot, Curbs. That's the voice of the Blues, Chris Kerber, that just joined us. Coming up next here in the Fast Lane, we've got Hot Take or Hot Garbage.
Haven't done this one either.
That's a new one.
All right.
On 101 ESPN. Happy holidays from the Londoff Chevrolet family. Londoff Chevrolet still has the holiday sale going on, the red tag sale over at their Londoff Chevrolet locations. And I can tell you right now that they have a bunch of amazing deals going on. The Chevy Silverados are going quickly. They've got great rebates there. The red tag sale is going to make you smile from ear to ear as you ring in the new year. And why not do it with a brand new vehicle from Londoff Chevrolet or a pre-owned vehicle? And I'm sure all of you have had a stressful situation at some point buying a vehicle, whether it's finding the right car, haggling for the right price, worrying about a warranty, all of these things, or money for your trade-in. Stop worrying about all of that. Go to Londoff Chevrolet. They're going to get you the best deal. They're going to give you the most money for your trade-in, and they're absolutely going to offer you the greatest customer service in the business, because I have been a customer for over 25 years. I swear by the Londoff family. They are amazing at what they do, and I just keep buying vehicles from there. Why? Because the vehicles are awesome and the service is fantastic, and they've got two great locations now for you. The original location in Florissant, Missouri, and the new Londoff Autoplex located out in St. Peters. Both of them have fantastic inventory. They've got great staff over there. Please walk into either location. Tell them that Jamie Rivers sent you in. They love hearing that. But if you can't get there in person, you can get there online 24/7 at londoff.com or londoffautoplex.com. Are you kidding me?
Johnny Londoff Chevrolet.
101 ESPN Sports Center.
I'm Andrew Marsh. It's time for a Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. The Blues won last night against the Dallas Stars by a final score of 2-1. Joel Hofer stopped 39 of 40. Scott Perunovich with 2 assists. We talked with him earlier today. If you missed that interview or our interview with Chris Kerber, voice of the Blues right here on the Blues Radio Network. If you missed those interviews, make sure you go to 101ESPN.com or check out the free 101 mobile app. Head to the podcast page, find all of our interviews there and our full show. It's all brought to you by Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers. The Browns and Jets will take on one another tonight, Thursday Night Football. Pregame starts at 6:30. You can catch all the coverage right here on 101 ESPN. We have hot take or hot garbage, so send us a hot take to the Air Comfort Service text line, 314-399-9646. We'll decide if it's a hot take or if it's just hot garbage. That's coming up right now, right here in the Fast Lane. I'm Andrew Marsh, and the Sports Center update is brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, independent American standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
It's the Fast Lane here on 101 ESPN. It is that time of the week. Hot take or hot garbage. Our guy Marshy just told you can participate too at any time. Air Comfort Service text line 314-399-9646. Marshy, what do we got?
All right, let's start off with the 314 hot take. City SC will not surprise the MLS next year and will likely miss the playoffs completely.
Ooh.
Oh, man, I hate these questions.
That's hot garbage.
Is it?
It is.
Is
it
it?
is. I don't know. I mean, you can. it is. Because the notion that they surprised us, they were really good. That's not how that works. It's not like maybe at the beginning of the season, right? But City played pretty well throughout the entire season, so it's not like they were just a complete surprise. Not like other teams didn't have film or know what style of play that they were going to come with. It's not a surprise. It was not a shock when they came in and beat people.
Okay.
That's unfortunate how it ended, but
question for you.
I'm saying hot garbage.
Question for you.
All right, I'm here.
Okay.
What you got?
We're friends here.
Yeah,
okay?
we're nobody's listening.
Question.
Okay.
Roman Berkey.
Outstanding.
Hey, really good goal.
Really good.
Right?
Yeah.
How come he won MLS Goalie of the Year?
Because he didn't allow goals to go in.
Yeah. Because he stopped the most shots in the entire league.
I tried to shift it real quick. He stopped a lot. No, because he didn't allow many goals to go in.
You're right. He didn't.
Yeah.
But he stopped a lot of shots, too, right?
That's
Some would say the most shots of any goalie.
Some would say.
So let's say he's half as good next year.
Okay.
Not because of his talent, just because the net's pretty big in soccer.
It happens.
And your team's giving up that many shots, they're probably not having the same results.
Well, as long as they are getting the shots on the other end, playing the aggressive.
But were they?
Yeah. They weren't at one point. You got to be aggressive. That's how they play. They're aggressive. They get after it.
But they give up a lot of shots on goal.
It's not great. I get it.
They give up a lot of shots on goal. And I love the team.
But not make the playoffs next year? Come on.
I could see them making the playoffs, maybe not being the number one team in the West, but I think they can make the playoffs.
I know. I want them to make the playoffs. I worry, guys. I worry that giving up that many shots on goal and the way they played defensively down the stretch was not great. And so it leads me to believe.
It was not.
It leads me to believe that two things happened. One, they either dropped off or two teams figured them out a little bit. Or both things.
So that was a question that I had all season. When you're playing with that style, do you wear down as the season? Like the heat was going to be a concern for me because St. Louis is hot as hell during the summer.
It sure is.
It's extremely hot here. That was a concern for me. And then just, some of the injuries I think had piled up on them. All of those, they had a lot of things that happened throughout the season.
We'll have a lot of things next year that happen too.
It's part of football.
It's a football.
Yes.
But I'll tell you what, you guys have swayed me. I'll say hot garbage.
There we go.
With an asterisk.
There we go.
From the 636, hot take or hot garbage? Bowl games are useless in modern college football. I say hot take.
Oh,
I think
take.
Yes.
Oh, and listen to me. Hear me and hear me good.
It's an honor and a privilege to win a bowl, Carey.
The hell it is not.
What would you know?
If you have a chance to finish the season with a record under 500, there should be a rule that you're not even allowed to play in a bowl.
Okay, I thought that was a rule.
I hate it.
I thought that was a rule.
If you win 6 games, you're in.
So how did Minnesota get in? They were 5-9.
They weren't 5-9.
They were 5-9.
They were. They had 5 wins. We were talking about that the other day.
Huh? How many losses did they have?
9.
7?
No, it was 7.
5-7.
Yeah.
They couldn't have. They played 14
Yeah,
games.
they only played 12 games.
I don't know. The band. Do you hear me? They shouldn't have been in. I don't give a damn if they won or not. They should not. I hate it. What are we doing? What are we trying to prove here?
I think they should get rid of bowl games. I like what the FCS does.
I'm not a fan, man. Yes, playoffs.
Yes.
32 teams, however many teams you got, 16. I know we'll go to 12 teams, but
why can they do it, but FBS can't do it?
Oh, it's a big difference.
I thought a huge tournament would be unbelievable.
It's money. It's always. If you're ever confused, just ask. It's money.
Get the Pepto-Bismol Bowl coming up next year.
You know how much money they pay to have their name on that damn thing? I heard y'all do the bowl or no bowl. It was fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
Who knows anymore?
A couple of them. Like, it's not a bowl game?
It sounds right.
Sounds good to me.
All right, Marcy, what do you got?
From the 314, hot take or hot garbage? John Harbaugh leaves for the NFL if and when Michigan wins the championship this year. That won't happen.
John is already in the NFL.
Well, it says John Harbaugh. I'm just reading the text line.
John is already there.
Jim Harbaugh.
Jim.
I'm Ron Burgundy. Marcy just reads it.
I just read it. I read it as I see it.
I think that's a good one. You say if they win the championship this year.
It says if and when.
If and when.
So might be a two-parter to this hot take or hot garbage.
Alabama that's kind of in their way.
I got Michigan winning that game. I got Michigan. I worry. I'm going Big Ten all the way.
Nick Saban has this much time to prep for your team. I worry.
Nah, I did play a Nick Saban team in college, and it was honestly the fastest team I had ever played. I honestly, the first half, I thought they had 12 people on the field. It was unfair. How the hell are you here? What are you doing?
Maybe we can get into this later, but I had the thought of when we look at the 4 teams for the college football playoff, are we truly getting what those teams are throughout the regular season? Because they have a full month off.
Yeah. So it's the best. It should be the best version of those teams because with a month off, you know how much your body can heal.
That's fair.
For 30 days or 25 days of not having to run into somebody consistently. So I think you're getting the best version of each team. I don't have a problem with that. I think that's awesome. But I think with this, I think that's going to be hot garbage.
I think it's a hot take. And the only reason and scenario I see it being a hot take is if the Chicago Bears fire their coach. Jim Harbaugh would love to go back to Chicago, a reunion of him and the Bears.
I would like that.
And they need a guy like him.
Yeah.
They do.
Need something.
They've got Justin Fields right now. Who knows if they've got Caleb Williams next year. Whatever they decide to do at the quarterback position, they're going to need somebody who can lead them. And I think that if Jim Harbaugh has done nothing else in his last handful of years, he's proven that he can lead young men.
Yeah.
Can he lead NFLers? He did pretty good in San Fran.
He did a really good job. Took him to the Super Bowl.
Yep. So I think if the Bears' job opens up, or if the Bears hear that Harbaugh will leave, that job may open up. Yeah. I think that makes it a hot take at that point.
You guys said earlier that no one was listening. I beg to differ.
I've been listening.
Yeah, you have, Janet.
Always listens.
Janet texted in, hot take, the Dodgers spent all that money and still won't win the World Series.
Oh, I'll go hot take.
I'm with you.
The odds tell me they won't.
There's a lot of other teams with an opportunity.
Vegas, the fact that Vegas doesn't have them at 100% to win the World Series means that there's a chance they're not going to win it.
There's a chance. I mean, they spent a lot of money for a purpose, right, to put themselves in position to win, but it is not guaranteed. And, I think it'll be – I like it, though. I like that they went out and said, the hell with it. Let's see. I mean, the Yankees have been doing. It's fun. Now, will it work?
Not for us.
It would be great if we did it.
It'd be funny as hell.
It'd be so fun. I would have so much fun if we here in St. Louis decided to do that.
Imagine having Ohtani.
Oh man,
my goodness.
That ballpark would be filled every night.
What could have been?
Oh man.
Way to go, DeWitt. Way to go. All right, Robert Thomas, Blues forward who's having a great season. Are we watching him become one of the best playmakers in the NHL? We'll get into that discussion next year on 101 ESPN. It's a Fast Lane here on 101 ESPN. Let's dive into some Blues talk here with Carey Davis, Andrew Marsh, Jamie Rivers here, Anthony Stalter, enjoying another day in sunny paradise. South City, St. Louis. I'm sure it's sunny there. Good luck, Anthony.
Maybe not.
Maybe not.
Too sunny outside.
Either way, enjoy your family, Anthony. All right, Carey, let's play a game. Would you like to play a game?
Definitely.
All right. What movie?
Saw.
There you go.
Yeah, I was going to say Scream.
Do you like those movies?
Yes. Right on the bike.
The creepy tricycle dude?
Hell.
Oh, yeah. I remember doing that one time in somebody's basement. They had a tricycle.
Oh, yeah?
And we were doing something. I got all dressed in black, and I rode this tricycle out.
Yeah.
People freaked out.
That's awesome.
Even I was kind of like weirded out by myself. All right, let's play a game here, Carey. I'm going to give you some names, and we're going to talk about the highest even strength assists per 60 minutes in the NHL in the last 3 years.
Okay.
Okay? These names probably not a surprise to you. At 2.02 even strength assists per 60, Nathan MacKinnon.
He's pretty good.
Not a bad player, right?
Not bad.
Where you'd rank him top 5 NHL?
Yeah, I'll put him up there.
Okay. Next up, at 2.05 assists per 60 minutes, Mitch Marner.
Okay.
One of the best two-way players in the NHL. Pretty good guy. Next up, at 2.05 assists per 60 minutes, Matthew Tkachuk. I'd say he's pretty good.
He's pretty good.
He's a pretty big difference maker, right?
He's pretty good.
Some would call him a unicorn.
Nah.
Okay. There's a guy that's better than all three of those guys.
Oh. Do tell.
Yeah, so that I just gave you second, third, and fourth place. I didn't give you first.
That wasn't first? That wasn't first, second, and third?
No.
Oh,
second,
okay.
third, and fourth.
Who's first?
Robert Thomas.
St. Louis Blues, Robert Thomas?
Uh-huh. Robert Thomas.
Okay.
He sits currently at 2.07 even strength assists per 60 minutes. That's a mouthful, I know. But basically all it is per regular time of game, 60-minute game, regulation game, he has the most assists.
Even strength, 5 on 5.
Even strength in the last 3 years. And the list again goes Thomas, Tkachuk, Marner, MacKinnon.
That's a really good list to be on. In the last 3 years, not just this season, for the last 3 seasons.
Yeah. So a couple things that I unpack with this. One, 2 or 3 years from now, Doug Armstrong might look like a genius locking Robert Thomas up at 8x8. Because a lot of people were skeptical of that.
Yeah.
Well, that's a lot of money. It's a lot of, Really? He's the best in the last 3 years, the highest even strength assists per regulation game. So I guess the question is the ultimate question, and people can jump in here on the Air Comfort Service text line 314-399-9646. Is Robert Thomas an elite playmaker in the NHL?
So we were talking about this when you're referring to just playmaker in terms of goal scoring and creating for other players. It helps when you have those guys on the opposite outside of you, right? On your right side, on your left side. Yeah. That really is what makes you that playmaker or makes you that much better. Is it solely on him to be the best playmaker, or is it just really having those guys on the wings that are going to help assist him in becoming a top-tier playmaker in the NHL?
Okay, so let's further this conversation because I think this is interesting.
All right.
Okay. So per my take earlier, our conversation earlier, which was off air, mind you, okay, but we basically had the conversation of, is Robert Thomas the offense driver, or does he need people on his wings to take him to the next level? Looking at these numbers, Carey, think about the players Robert Thomas has played with on his line as opposed to the players that Tkachuk, Marner, and MacKinnon have played on their line. Think about that.
A little different.
Nathan MacKinnon has Mikko Rantanen, and he's had Gabriel Landeskog, amongst other top-tier forwards on his line. Mitch Marner has had Austin Matthews. He's had William Nylander. He's had John Tavares on his line. And Matthew Tkachuk has had Johnny Gaudreau, Lindholm up in Calgary, and then in Florida, he's had Sam Bennett, and he's had some... So these guys... Robert Thomas has had what?
Jordan Kyrou.
He's had Jordan Kyrou. Or he's had... Or he's had another variety of it, right? He's had Braden Shen at one point. He's had a lot more of a mishmash of players that aren't elite, I would say, compared to these guys, yet he's sitting here at the top of the food chain.
Well, okay, so I did pull some numbers. So for the last couple of years, I'm looking at the points of McKinnon, Marner, Tkachuk.
I know.
McKinnon last season had 111. The year before, he had 88. Marner, 99 and 97 the last 2 years. And Tkachuk, 109 and 104. Robert Thomas, in those past 2 seasons, 65 and 77.
I know.
So when you're talking about, I understand the 5-on-5 and the assists, and that's beautiful. But the points, which is, in my opinion, what makes a playmaker, are not on the level of those 3 guys that are on that same list as him.
So can you imagine where Robert Thomas might be in the last year in particular, and so far this year, had they had an elite power play?
They're much better. This season alone has been... It's been hard to watch the power play. It's almost like you'd rather them be on the PK than the power play.
Yeah, go back to your numbers, Carey.
It changes.
So
when you
Matthew
score on the
Tkachuk,
power play.
let's do this, right? So Matthew Tkachuk, 2.05 assists at even strength per 60.
Yes.
Okay. And then how many points did he have overall?
Matthew Tkachuk had 109 last year.
So that's a lot of points on the power play.
It is. It is. I agree, but you it's almost like a quarterback, right? We talked about Patrick Mahomes yesterday and how poorly he's playing, but it's not because Patrick Mahomes stinks. It's because the players around him aren't doing what they need to do. And so if you're Robert Thomas and you only have 65 points last year and 77 the year before, you can't do anything about the people that are around you.
No,
that's not your job. Your job is to make the plays and do what's in your wheelhouse, and hope that the guys around you are also going to create things and make things happen as well.
I agree. So if we isolate Robert Thomas again, and it's not that I'm dying on this hill, I'm actually super intrigued by this entire conversation because I did not know that he was that good even strength. And so when you look at this year, he's got 37 points in 34 games. That translates to about 87 to maybe 90 points by the end of the season, if he keeps this kind of a pace.
And if they scored on the power play, it would be much higher.
It'd be way higher.
Yeah.
So I guess going back to the original question, is Robert Thomas one of the best playmakers in the NHL at even strength? I have to say he is.
Yes. And so you would assume...
one would make the argument that's harder.
I was going to say that you would have to assume that if they were better on the power play, you could say he's the best playmaker in general, because you would assume that you scored more or had more opportunities on the power play.
It's much harder to generate offense 5-on-5.
Yes.
And here he is leading
Unless
the
you're
NHL.
The St. Louis Blues.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
But here he is leading the NHL over the last 3 years. I'm just blown away by this.
That is a pretty awesome stat.
And that we found that on Twitter, or the X, from Big Head Hockey, a reputable spot for stats and things like that. So we're not pulling this out of our ear for that matter. So I don't know. The text line seems to think that, we got 314 that says the stat is legit. 5-on-5 points are what you got to expect in the playoffs with far less power play opportunities. That's a very valid point. You spend a lot less time on the power play in the playoffs. Yeah. You got to get to the playoffs.
You do have to get there.
Got to get there.
It helps to...
Somebody says that they remind him of Steve Yzerman. I'll tell you what, that's a heavy comparison.
Is that very heavy?
That's a very heavy comparison. And then another one says, I don't think St. Louis sees him that way just yet. Also, I think more Blues fans had an issue with Kyrie's deal, not so much Robert Thomas's. I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with that at all. So Robert Thomas, they said, is definitely an elite center. His skill set matches any of the supposed elite centers in the league. He's only
elite is a big word.
It is. It is.
Elite is to use your word, a heavy word.
It's very heavy.
Because when you are elite, it looks different, right? You've played with and against elite competition, and it just, man, it's different. And I don't know that when teams, and I think Robert Thomas is awesome. I don't know that he's reached the elite level yet.
I would agree. I think he's starting to scratch the surface because we're seeing a lot more consistent play. Yeah. It's not like 4 points in one game and no points for 3 games. He's generating offense on a regular basis, and he's generating offense 5-on-5 because the power play we know has not been good. Mm-hmm. So the Blues have work to do on the power play. There's no secret there. But it is interesting to see just, how good Robert Thomas is becoming. And it's also fun to imagine what he might become in the next couple of years with the experience and the emergence of Jordan Kyrou, more experience for Pavel Buchnevich playing together, maybe the emergence of Jimmy Snuggerud, and some of these guys, Otto Stenberg. Both of those guys had hat tricks today, Carey.
Pretty good.
We're going to get into that in the 4 o'clock hour, just what the future looks like for the Blues. But a guy like Robert Thomas, if you put some elite goal scorers around him, his numbers might even get to that category of the Kachucks, the McKinnons, and the Mitch Marners and things like that. Yeah. So it's going to be fun to watch Robert Thomas. He sure is playing real good right now. And it's a lot of fun to see that. All right, we got the Gauntlet coming up next. We need a Gauntlet contestant. We're all out of 11-year-olds today. So text us at 314-399-9646, just the word Gauntlet. We'll get into that next year on 101 ESPN.
Warriors, 4 categories, 1 challenger. Can you master the Gauntlet?
Brought to you by Master, your hometown source for business communications for more than 30 years. Visit masstour.com.
Welcome back to the Fast Lane here on 101 ESPN. 4:03, your time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers. It is time for the Gauntlet, and we have a new contestant here today. We head out to the celebrity line for our guy Jeff. Jeff, how you doing?
Hey, good.
Hey, buddy, good. How's the holiday?
That was great. Anytime you get to spend time with your kids, grown adult kids, it's awesome.
I totally agree with that. All right, so it's time for the Gauntlet, and the way it works here is you pick your opponent, and the wheel picks the category. So who are you gonna pick today, Jeff?
Let's go with Carey.
I knew it. I knew it. I said it. Fresh meat. They want Carey.
All righty.
All right. So we're going to send Carey off to the cone of silence. And while Carey's in the cone of silence, Jeff, you're going to tell our guy Marshy to spin that wheel, please.
Hey, do we have 80s hair metal videos as a category?
I wish we did.
Oh, okay. Spin that wheel, Marshy.
Maybe in the future, but I like where your head's at. All right, so Jeff, what are you looking for apart from 80s hair metal bands?
It doesn't even matter. I know a little bit about everything, so it doesn't even matter.
All right.
And the emphasis on the little bit part.
Okay, well, let's hope you know a little bit more than Carey at football.
Oh, God.
Football is the category. I'm not making this up, buddy. As soon as it landed, I went, oh, my goodness.
It would have landed hockey if Anthony was here in the studio and you were competing against him, but that's unfortunate that he's not.
We'll just blame
Let's just make it quick.
All right, Jeff, just a little recap here on the rules. Each question's worth 2 points. If you use the options and answer it correctly, it's worth 1 point. Of course, if you get it wrong, it's 0 points. If you and Carey are tied after 4 questions, we'll have a tiebreaker question, and we will get a winner here in the Gauntlet today. Jeff, you ready, bud?
Let's do it.
Okay, again, the category is football. Question number 1. Before Jacoby Myers was a Raider, he played for which team for 4 seasons?
I have no idea. Give me options.
All right. Was it the Buffalo Bills, the New York Giants, or the New England Patriots?
Giants, final answer.
Question number 2. The last time the Raiders made the playoffs was in the 2021 season when they lost 26-19 to which team?
Options.
Options are the Kansas City Chiefs, the Buffalo Bills, or the Cincinnati Bengals.
Bengals, final answer.
All right, Jeff's not messing around here. Okay, question 3, Jeff. In that 2021 season, which NFC quarterback won the regular season MVP?
NFC. 21. Let's go with Aaron Rodgers. Final answer.
All right.
Question number 4. The last game the Rams played as the St. Louis Rams was a 19-16 overtime loss on the road against which team?
Just say that again. Somebody was talking in my other ear.
The last game the Rams played as the St. Louis Rams was a 19-16 overtime loss on the road against which team?
Give me options.
Options are the Arizona Cardinals, the Seattle Seahawks, or the San Francisco 49ers.
God, I'd hope we went out to let's go with the Seahawks.
Final answer?
Yep.
All right, Jeff. Let's get we'll get Carey in here from the Cone of Silence while he's coming in. How you feel, bud?
Terrible.
Damn, you can't even fake it.
It couldn't have been a worse category against the worst opponent. I mean, it's terrible.
All right, well, Carey's coming back in here. He's plugging in his ears, so let's not talk anything more about it.
I'm watching on YouTube, too, so I want to see him smiling when you come.
There you go. All right, Carey?
Yes, sir.
Category's hockey.
Okay.
No, it's
Dalibor Dvorsky.
It's football.
Football. Let's get it. Let's go.
All right. Question number 1. Before Jacoby Myers was a Raider, he played for which team for 4 seasons?
New England Patriots. Final answer.
You don't want the options?
No.
Okay, just checking.
Question number 2. The last time the Raiders made the playoffs was in the 2021 season when they lost 26-19 to which team?
2021. Oh, hell. 2021.
Yep, right before 2022.
Yeah, I remember that year. That was right after 2020.
There you go.
Yeah, dog it. Give me the options. I don't want them.
Options are the Kansas City Chiefs, the Buffalo Bills, or the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah, obviously. Didn't need the options. Could have just guessed. None of them helped.
Was that a laugh or a fart? What was that?
It was a snort.
You mean the...
Yeah,
Go ahead with,
you get it.
I'm gonna go Chiefs. Final answer.
All right, Carey, question 3. In that same 2021 season, which NFC quarterback won the regular season MVP?
Oh, man. Damn. 2021. NFC. Regular season MVP. Who the heck? 2021.
2021, sir.
MVP.
Yeah.
Of the NFL.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Quarterback.
Yep.
All right. It's going to take a second. Give me a second. Bears. Okay. No one in the NFC South. No. NFC West. Matthew Stafford? No. No one for the Seahawks. NFC North. Hell no. NFC East. Is it? It wasn't Dak. 2020. Oh,
2021, sir. Shot clock's ticking.
Give me the options.
All
Come
right. Was it Aaron Rodgers?
Oh, of course.
Tom Brady? Or Matthew Stafford?
Oh, I forgot Tommy was down in the NFC South at that point. Who was the last one, Stafford?
Yes, sir.
It's got to be, let's go Aaron Rodgers. Final answer.
Final answer.
Sorry.
That's all right.
Question number 4. The last game the Rams played as the St. Louis Rams was a 19-16 overtime loss on the road against which team?
I feel like it was the Seahawks or the it was I think it was a divisional game. So I'm going to go Seahawks or the Niners. They always played well. I'm going to go Seahawks. See, final answer.
Okay, let's go over this.
How'd it go?
Let's start at question number 4. The last game the Rams played as the St. Louis Rams was a 19-16 overtime loss on the road against which team? Jeff, you took the options. You said the Seattle Seahawks.
Okay.
Carey, you did not take the options, and you said the Seattle Seahawks. Answer is...
It is the San Francisco 49ers.
Yes. No points awarded to either of you on that one. Let's go to question number 1. Before Jacoby Myers was a Raider, he played for which team for 4 seasons? Jeff, you took the option, said the Giants. Carey, you did not take the options. You said the Patriots with a very serious face at the same time, too.
Yes.
Answer is...
It is the New England Patriots.
It is. Carey up 2-0 after that one. Let's go to question number 2. The last time the Raiders made the playoffs was in the 2021 season when they lost 26-19 to which team? Jeff, you took the options. You said the Bengals. Carey, you took the options. You said the Chiefs. Answer is...
It is Cincinnati.
It is Cincinnati. So we're right now, as it sits, we have a 2-1 lead for Carey. Comes down to this question. In that same 2021 season, which NFC quarterback won the regular season MVP? Jeff, without the options, you said Aaron Rodgers. Carey, with the options, you said Aaron Rodgers. I think both of you forgot that Tom Brady
Definitely
was in the NFL that season and
yeah.
in the NFC.
Definitely forgot that.
Answer is
Well, it's Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
Walk it off.
we got to walk off.
Nice.
We got to walk off.
Good job, Carey.
Thank you.
All
Appreciate
right,
it.
Jeff, here's how it works, buddy. I'm going to read off the question. Do not say a word. Carey, you will write down your answer,
All right.
and I would suggest you write it down as fast as you can. I'm
Okay.
not saying Jeff will cheat. We have people in the past that have taken some time.
All right.
Not Jeff, of course.
Okay.
We're gonna do that.
I am watching on YouTube, so I'm watching.
There you go.
Oh
Okay.
yeah, don't put that thing up on the camera,
All right.
Carey.
Oh, the paper. Yeah, don't
The
do
paper.
that.
Okay.
Yeah.
That thing either. All right.
Well, you know, he has had deck problems.
Got some deck issues here, so
As soon as Carey gives us his answer, Jeff, I'm going to come to you, and I need your answer quickly. All right, buddy?
Got it.
Okay, Marshy, get ready on the math.
Okay.
Tiebreaker question. In his 2021 MVP season, Aaron Rodgers threw how many touchdown passes?
All right.
Carey's got his answer. Jeff, what's your answer?
Let's go with 30.
All right. Came down to the tiebreaker question. Jeff.
You have chosen poorly.
You lose.
Not today.
The answer was 37, and Carey Davis had 38. Throw it up there on the YouTube. 38. So Carey got you today, Jeff, in the tiebreaker.
Good job, Carey.
Good job, Jeff. Whew.
It's a good job.
Was that your first gauntlet?
Yeah.
I think so.
And Jeff's first one, too?
No, I might have done it once.
Hey, we got a first timer over here.
Thank you.
All right, Jeff. Thanks a lot, man, for listening. Thanks for
Good job.
playing.
Good job,
Have a
Jeff.
great time, man.
All right, nice.
Bye.
Oh no, it wasn't. You did
Yeah.
the gauntlet playoffs.
I lost.
Yeah, but it's
I
his,
do remember that.
Yeah.
It's his first time as...
It's your first win, though.
It
First
is my
time as a
first win.
fast lane
Yeah.
member, though, right?
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Unofficial, official?
Yep.
All right, good job, buddy.
Thank you.
Good job.
Was it stressful?
A little bit.
It's kind of
It's
stressful.
more stressful when it's your sport.
Yes, it's worse because there's an expectation.
I know. I go through that. Yeah, because I win like a lot at hockey,
Yeah.
I'm always like, damn it, they expect me to
Yes.
win.
Yeah,
And
that was
sometimes
that
I
was
don't know
tough.
the answers.
There you go. Yep.
All right, so are the young players for the St. Louis Blues shining under Drew Bannister? We're going to dive into that next here in the Fast Lane on 101 ESPN.
Obviously, the NHL is the best league in the world, so it's tough to string together numerous games in a row and, kind of get into a nice, smooth rhythm. So I guess coaching staff does a good job. D coach, our skills coach, just try and work on little things every day, whether that's, picking up rims on your backhand or, trying to shoot the puck more or simple things like that. Just try and get in the groove.
It's the Fast Lane here on 101 ESPN. That was Scott Perunovich earlier today in the Fast Lane. If you missed that interview, you can always go back and download the podcast at 101 ESPN or on the 101 ESPN mobile app. Of course, all that brought to you by Dobbs Tire and Auto. All right, so Scott Perunovich was on earlier talking about, playing under the coaching staff and Drew Bannister, and that led us to discuss, are the young players shining under Drew Bannister?
I think, well, obviously.
And if so, why?
I think you get more confidence, especially when you have a guy that you've worked with in the past that understands you, understands your ability, and what you're capable of. I think that gives you a little bit more confidence, and it gives you an opportunity to just be you. I think sometimes when you're a young player trying to figure out your role in the NHL or on a professional team, and you're still just a few seasons in, you're a pro, but you're not seasoned yet, and so you're still trying to figure some things out. So I think just having a familiar face, a familiar voice, has probably opened up some things for these younger players and allowed them to be who they are, who they are supposed to be.
And great point, but not just familiar faces behind the bench. Familiar faces in the locker room, too.
Yes.
So we talked to Scott Perunovich about, playing with some of his former teammates from the American Hockey League in Springfield. And here's what Scott Perunovich said about that.
I mean, it's so cool. We were down there together, and, before we had any NHL games, obviously that's your dream. And we kind of went through everything together down there. We were close, and to see the next job, it's really special. And we all really care about each other, and, we want everyone to have success. If it was up to me, Joel would have a shutout every night, and he'd be an all-star, and I'm sure he'll be one in the future. But we're all really glad. There's no selfishness or anything between us. We want the best for everyone, and we all know it too.
So some interesting things there. And Carey, I don't know if there's any comparable in the NFL because you guys don't really have a minor league team. You've got the practice squad and you've got the starting squad. Yeah. So it's tough to have, to develop with a group of younger guys. And I could be wrong, but I don't know how it works, right? In hockey, obviously, you've got the American Hockey League. Yep. You can go play in the Iron League, as we used to call it, for a couple of years with some of these guys. You develop a chemistry, a relationship, and then you guys elevate to the big squad and try to carry that with you. So I don't know what the comparable would be.
Well, college.
If there's even
there's not. Practice squad is one of those things where when I played, there were 8 guys on the practice squad, obviously different positions, but you are rooting if that guy gets elevated to the active roster. You're rooting for that guy to have success. And then if multiple guys get elevated to the active roster, that's probably your core group that you hang around off the field, on doing things in practice, but when you get off the field, who you're going to play cards with and do things of that nature, it does help having those people around you, because when you feel better in terms of your everyday work, it's work. I think a lot of people think, playing professional sports, you just practice all day. No, it's work, man. For us, it was 7 a.m. until 5 or 6 p.m. It was meetings, more meetings, practice, more meetings, lifting, more meetings, and then you get to go home. And so to be able to spend time and be around people that you are familiar with and know, it makes that transition a lot easier. And then when you get on the field, you become more comfortable. So I think that's what some of these younger players are experiencing right now, is just the entirety of it all. Just being able to play well, and then be off of the ice and still be a professional and be around your buddies and hang out and have something in common that you are. Because it's hard to talk to a guy that's a 10-year vet that has made $45, $55, $80 million.
Yep.
And you are a second-year guy on a rookie contract.
Yeah, I know.
Maybe we can all, but it's a little bit different.
It is, and I think that it goes to show you, too, just how important the development system is, in particular in the NHL, to where you've got a coaching staff down the minors, how important they are, because you never know if you might have to elevate the coach, which you did in this case.
Yeah.
And then you never know who you're going to play with that in the big leagues that you were teammates with before. So to me, it speaks volumes as to where the Blues are from a development standpoint. Never mind the drafting, but the developing. They've got a lot of guys who played in their minor league system that now are on the big team.
Yeah.
Including the head coach.
Yeah. The development is such especially more so in football, I think, than any other sport here lately. In the last 10 to 15 years, the development has fallen off completely. I think hockey, they definitely are developing those players to be NHL ready when their time is presented, when they have their opportunity to be there. They are more ready to play than some other professional sports because the NFL doesn't have a real minor league system.
Crime.
Yeah, it
tough. Really is.
Yeah.
I've got some thoughts on that. We'll get into that.
Yeah, we can do that.
Another day, or maybe tomorrow, we'll get into that, because I do want to pick your brain, because I've had that many questions about that before, especially the way they've set up the NFL. We did one final thing from Scott Perunovich here, and, Carey, it's just like anything you do in life. Once you find a rhythm doing something, or the reps, like whether it's radio, whether it's coaching, whether it's Marshy, we having trouble with that? You're giving me the sign language here.
No, we came back with the rhythm.
Oh yeah.
Oh, feel the rhythm, feel the rhyme.
Yeah.
It's bobsled time.
Bobsled time.
What movie?
Jamaican Cool Runnings.
There you go. Nice job, Marshy. What movie?
Cool Runnings.
Yeah,
there you go.
All right, we also had Chris Kerber on today. Again, if you missed that, download the podcast on 101 ESPN or the mobile app. Kerber, our guy Kerbs, talking about the young players recently here for the Blues, and here's what he had to say.
Scott Perunovich is playing with some confidence. We talked to him on the broadcast after the game last night, and for him, it was just a matter of Scott staying healthy, getting a chance to feel comfortable, and start to figure out what his game is like in the NHL. And he's figuring that out. And you are clearly seeing a defenseman, maybe the best Blues defenseman in terms of that first pass out of the zone when he has the puck on his stick. Toropchenko solidifying himself in that third-line role, playing smart hockey. Maybe not as strong of a game last night as the coaches would like him to have, but he's earned a little flexibility to have a little bow in his game. So I love the way he's blocking shots. He blocked one with his nose against Chicago. He came across the middle, blocked another one last night that could have been a great scoring chance. So he's playing extremely well in there as well. Jake Neighbors, man. He just doesn't make mistakes a whole lot. He might get into the mode of trying to pass too much because he's got a good shot. Sometimes he'll go, run himself with that youthful exuberance into the wall, or fall down a little bit. But Jake Neighbors is playing terrific hockey.
He is. And I think that not only are the current Blues on your roster, our current players on the roster playing well for your Blues, they have some guys that are coming up the ranks here, and the World Junior Championship has been on here daily. If you have the NHL Network, turn it on, because the Blues have 7 players in this tournament, and 2 of those players had hat tricks today.
It's pretty dang on good.
Jimmy Snuggerud, who's projected to hopefully be a top 6 forward for the Blues at some point in his career, maybe sooner than later, had a natural hat trick today in the very first period of the game, and all that means he scored all 3 goals in a row.
That's in the first period.
In the first period.
Not bad.
And he had 2 goals in the game yesterday, I believe. So it's 5 goals in 2 games for Jimmy Snuggerud. And then Otto Stenberg, who is a Swedish player, draft pick by the Blues, he also had a hat trick today. So when you go over this lineup and you see Thomas, Kyrou, Neighbors, Perunovich, Hofer, and you add Snuggerud and Zach Bolduc, Zach Dean, Otto Stenberg, like you're starting to get that's 9 players I just talked about. That's not even all the rest of the guys that they have drafted. So the present looks good, and they're still developing, but the future certainly looks promising as well for the Blues. So good on Doug Armstrong, good on the scouting staff, and good on all of the coaches that are helping develop these players, because it certainly looks like it's going to be positive moving forward. So, all right, he's Carey Davis. I'm Jamie Rivers. Andrew Marsh over there. We didn't have this conversation in the office, although we thought about it. We thought we'd save it for the air because I think it's an interesting conversation. So when we come back, we're going to talk about who we think is the NFL Comeback Player of the Year this season in the NFL. That's coming up next year on 101 ESPN.
ESPN Sports Center.
I'm Andrew Marsh. It's time for a Sports Center update driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. The Blues defeated the Stars last night by a final score of 2-1. Joel Hofer, who was between the pipes, had 39 stops, 40 shots thrown his way, went 39 for 40. Scott Perunovich had 2 assists last night as well. We talked with him earlier in the show. If you missed that interview, make sure you go to 101ESPN.com or check out the free 101 mobile app. Go to the podcast page. It's all brought to you by Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers. We also were joined by Chris Kerber. So once again, check that out. The Blues will be back in action tomorrow, taking on the Colorado Avalanche. Pregame starts at 6. Puck drop is at 7. Catch all the action right here on 101 ESPN. Tonight we have the Browns and Jets. Thursday night football. Pregame starts at 6:30. I'm Andrew Marsh, and this Sports Center update is driven by Johnny Londoff. Find new roads and shop 24/7 at londoff.com and londoffautoplex.com. Are you kidding me?
Fastlane here on 101 ESPN. I think an interesting topic this year in particular. I don't know if other years it held as much water. It's always a fun category to talk about the NFL Comeback Player of the Year. But this year, I feel like it's more than one horse in this race. So the obvious one, let's just get it on the table immediately. Damar Hamlin.
Yeah.
Okay. So if we're talking about in life comeback player,
100%.
There's no competition for Damar Hamlin.
No.
But having said that and looking at the amount of games he's played to where he's had an impact of any kind this year, I believe he's only started 4, maybe 5 games. His tackles, I don't have the number, but it's not
5 games, two tackles.
2 tackles. Mm-hmm. So if for me, and maybe this sounds heartless, maybe I'm a jerk, I don't know. For me, Damar Hamlin would have had to have a comeback season, not a comeback couple of games.
Yeah. Well,
am I being too harsh?
Because it's comeback player, and I understand like what he went through was horrific. I don't care how tough of a man or football player you were or are. That moment made me cry because I saw the fear in his teammates. We see a lot. Like we've seen legs go one way, arms bent back, necks. You see all of it. You become numb to it. But the fact that the way that they responded and the way the announcers responded, you knew that this was a serious situation that was taking place on that field. And I am thankful. I'm happy. I'm sure his family is. He is that he was able to come through it and still not play football, be alive.
Yes.
Right. But this is a comeback player of the year. His story is wonderful, but I don't think...
He's more like a comeback person.
Yes, there's probably another award for him, but I don't think that the comeback player, because he hasn't played enough games.
Yeah.
And you don't want to sound bad. Yeah, but I don't... It's sports, though.
Yeah.
We're talking about the actual game and being on the field, and those are the things that are or what matters in this award. So I think we could take Damar off of the board for this conversation.
Do you agree with that, Marshy?
Oh, I 100% agree. When we were talking on the producers party earlier today, I was basically saying the same thing that I actually think he was out on the field when they lost a game. Like he was one of the reasons why they ended up losing because
he was part of one loss that there was a play that he did not make.
Yeah. And I don't really want to dive into that so much. But like
it's your fault they lost. It's a whole side of you haven't seen before.
Yesterday, for example, we had the conversation about Lamar Jackson and Baker Mayfield, who is the undisclosed quarterback that I brought up. Mm-hmm. If we look at the odds right now, Damar Hamlin, at least on FanDuel, is at minus 220 to win this award. Joe Flacco at plus 240, Baker Mayfield plus 650. Like, if you're going to give Lamar Jackson the MVP, I feel like you got to give Baker Mayfield at least a comeback player. The guy was on 2 terrible teams last year, and everyone made fun of him because he was a bad quarterback for a year and a half.
Okay, so let's dive into this because I think what you're saying is really interesting. And, Carey, I want to get your take here in a second on it. How many games has Joe Flacco played in, though? Before I further this discussion.
5.
Okay. Has
6, maybe.
Has he won all of the games that he's played in?
Because
I feel like
I think he's 3-1 or 4-1.
This matters to me right now because
Joe Flacco doesn't matter to me. I'm sorry. 2 reasons. He played for the Ravens and he plays for the Browns.
Okay, but he was sitting on his couch.
It's like me not caring about the Cowboys or Michigan football.
Okay, so put it aside for a second. Let's just pretend he plays for a team you don't hate. Okay. He was sitting on his couch, having been told by the Jets, "We don't need you," which clearly the Jets did need him.
Yep.
And he answers the phone and just takes the field and goes out and he has the team. He's part of a team that's 10-5 now.
Yeah. He's played in 4 games. So his first game was against 5 games, not 4 games. The first game was against the Rams, which they lost, and the Rams were playing really well. And then he's been part of the last 3 wins: Jaguars, Bears, Texans.
So it's okay if we're going to use the DeMar Hamlin as far as games played.
Yeah.
Is this the same thing, or does Joe Flacco's games carry more weight because he's a quarterback?
I don't think so. I don't think he's played enough games.
Okay.
And I don't think because of that, I don't think he should be part of that conversation either. That's my opinion on it.
Well, I have a soft spot for Shaky Bakey.
I do. That's where I am with you there.
I look at a player who expectations were through the roof. He was put into a tough situation. He underperformed, whether it was him personally or the organization and the supporting cast around him or the coaches or however many coaches he had early in his career. It happened. Then he moved on. Then he moved on again. And then he moved on again. And quite honestly, I don't know if anybody saw him actually getting a starting job coming into this season. I think the NFL world probably looked at him as a backup quarterback, except for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who really didn't have a starting quarterback. And they gave him a shot. And now whether you want to say that Baker Mayfield has exceeded expectations or he was handed a team that had some pretty good weapons for him, it doesn't matter. He still has to make those plays. The passing yards that he has, the touchdown passes that he has, like all of that stuff is relevant. He's making those plays.
He is, and he's got some really, this is probably the most stable situation he's been in for an extended period of time. LA was a stable situation, but he wasn't there very long. Carolina last year wasn't very stable. They fired their coach. The Browns, they're the Browns. Woof. They haven't been stable maybe ever since Jim Brown played football for the Browns. It's been a long time.
That's a while back.
It's a while back. Yeah. So he is definitely, for me, on the list. He had 850 yards passing last season total. And so now he's at 3,598. With the opportunity more than likely to go over 4,000, which would be the most yards he's ever thrown for in his entire career in a season. Awesome. I think that's spectacular. I do like him on that list. There's another name that I really like.
Ooh, do tell.
Matthew Stafford.
Yes.
Oh, come on.
He is.
Really?
Matthew Stafford.
How?
Matthew Stafford
He's
played
an NFL. He's a Super Bowl champion. That's not a comeback player.
He played 9 games last year.
I sucked and I was injured season, and now I'm back to the way I always am.
It's a comeback from one season to the next.
No chance.
He played in 8 games last year. Was it 8? 9 games last year.
Nope. You will never sell me on this.
You're gonna go shaky bakey because of his. It's not a career award.
But it is. It's a comeback now.
Award.
It's a comeback player.
It's a comeback from 2022 to 2023.
So then Aaron Rodgers, when he had a bad...
he probably will win it.
He
probably will win it next year. I was just thinking
just
that.
like my kids. You jumped in before I was even done with my... You don't
We're finishing each other's sentences.
No, you don't even know what I was going to say.
Yeah, I do. Come on.
You don't. It has nothing to do with next year for Aaron Rodgers. I'm talking about a couple of years ago when he had like an off year. Then he comes back and has an MVP season. Oh, he's a comeback player of the year? No.
Because the expectation is already there.
Matthew Stafford, the expectation is already there.
But if the player gets injured or they're not able to play for a season, like Marcia said, when Aaron Rodgers comes back next year and has an MVP type season, he's probably going to win comeback player of the year.
I won't agree with that either. Yeah. When you have an elite player player who has an injury for a season that's not life-threatening, okay? It's not DeMar Hamlin-esque as an injury, and he comes back and has a season like he's supposed to have, that's not a comeback player for me. That's a, hey, I just had the season I'm supposed to have player.
We just got a text in, I think it's from the 314, said Peyton Manning was comeback player of the year.
Yeah, but he broke his damn neck.
So the severity of the injury.
Yes! Of course it is.
If that goes back to DeMar Hamlin, though.
DeMar Hamlin.
I think it's got to be the impact on the field. Like Geno Smith won last year. Why? Because he led that team to the playoffs.
Yeah.
And Geno Smith was never considered an elite quarterback, but he played like one last season, and so he deserved that.
Just like Baker Mayfield.
I agree.
You're right, Andrew. I agree with you. It's a fast lane here on 101 ESPN.
It's time to find out what's going on in the sports world with What's Trending Now. Brought to you by Goodwill. Donate a car and get tickets to the St. Louis Cardinals.
Welcome back to the Fast Lane here on 101 ESPN. Jamie Rivers, Carey Davis, I'm Andrew Marsh, and it's time for What's Trending. Guys, I saw this today. Jalen Milroe said earlier today that former Alabama offensive coordinator Bill O'Brien once told him he should not play quarterback. And now Jalen Milroe is in the college football playoff after what he struggled earlier in the season, and now he is back. He has the Tide back in the CFP.
Roll Tide.
What are your thoughts? Like, have you guys, Jamie, I know you have, had a coach say, like, you're not good enough? And, like, how did you respond to that?
Why did you say, Jamie, I know you have?
Well, I mean, you've told me multiple stories about, Mike Keenan.
I will tell you.
You didn't say I wasn't good enough. You said you suck.
Yeah,
that's
out of my office. The same thing, right?
I just don't like the tone of that.
There was an office in Atlanta when I played for the Falcons that was the size of a phone booth. I don't know what they just had a phone in there. It was weird. Les Snead and I went into this room, and this is where he cut me. He said, "Yeah, you're not big enough to play fullback, and you're not fast enough to play tailback." It's been real. It's been real. I'm like, now the part of me that you and I are familiar with, that you have this, it's not much room in here, brother. You really can't get out of here if I don't want you to. But
pretty much.
I understood in that moment. It's best if I walk out and go on and continue.
Try to play another day.
Yeah.
Those are tough decisions.
That's a tough conversation to have, and when you're told you're not good enough, or you suck, or you're this or you're that, it can go one of two ways. You can believe them, or in Jalen Milroe's case, you can prove them wrong. And so I'm sure, we have a lot of quarterbacks, a lot of different players that get told you're not good enough to play this position at this level. You either need to get better or you're not going to play, and that's kind of the end of it. And so being in the right place, around the right people, the right coaching staff always changes and helps things out when you're a player.
Yeah, so I think it's lazy for some coaches.
Yeah.
I do. I think it's lazy, especially with young players, no matter what the sport is. I think it's a situation where the coach just doesn't want to put the work in. And so for Bill O'Brien to say that to Milroe, he just didn't want to put the work in.
Yeah.
I don't see it for you. Oh, okay. So how many players develop and become something? How about all of the wide receivers over the years that went to junior colleges and things like that were nowhere on the radar and became NFL stars?
Yeah.
How did that happen?
Look at Cody Schrader. He had to go Division II, and now he's the SEC leading rusher.
But that's what I'm saying. Somebody believed in him.
Yeah.
Somebody worked with him. Somebody decided that this guy can play.
Yeah.
And it's not all the time. And there are plenty of times where I won't call it wasted time. There'll be efforts that put in that don't pay off to the fullest degree.
Right.
That happens. You're a coach. You coach high school kids.
Yep.
And I've coached, junior, pro, all sorts of things like that, young kids as well. But I just don't, I think there's too often coaches in any sport just decide, well, you're not a center. You're not a defenseman. You're not a this. You're not. What?
You are not what I envision you to be, so I'm not going. Instead of, sometimes you have to see what a player is, and good coaches that I've been around, they take what the players do well, and we're going to do that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to force you to fit into a box because I only know one thing. I only know one style. I cannot coach in any different other ways. I can only coach this way. So if you're not this, then I can't deal with it. The best coaches are able to take what you do well and accentuate that and allow you to have the most success for yourself and for the team.
It just goes to show you, and you just wonder how many young athletes across the board in sports have been veered off the course by a coach that wasn't willing to develop, work, or take the time.
Yeah. It's too many to count.
For every one of these guys that pokes his head out through going, hey, you know what, I did it anyways.
Yeah.
How about the hundreds that just said, screw this, packed it in, went and did something stupid with friends or like whatever it is.
It happens too many times to count.
Is that an ego thing with the coaches? Because
I think it's
feel
lazy.
like Just
I think it's
lazy.
They're looking at a player and saying, you don't fit what I need. Or let's say his quarterback was Mac Jones, right? Like that's his guy. And this is the model right here. You're not the model. You're not a quarterback.
You can't do what he does. No, I can't. But he can't do what I do.
100%. Or I can't do what he does yet.
Yes. There you go. Yeah.
Like, it's your job to help me develop into becoming the player. That's why I'm on this team. That's why I came to this college.
That's why you sat in my living room and lied to me.
Yeah, lied to my mom.
We talked yesterday, or maybe it was 2 days ago, about the Michigan goal that Connor Bedard, the legger. We're going to call it the legger.
From now on.
So the legger that Connor Bedard scored against our St. Louis Blues. We get it. Blues won. End of story. Last night, he defeated the Winnipeg Jets in overtime. He hit the Vince Carter It's Over celebration.
Oh, boy.
Connor Bedard now has 32 points in 34 games. Is he... Now, there's a lot of different players in the NHL that you could say, oh, they're the face of the league. Is he like the face of the league, though? Is it still Crosby? Is it still McDavid? Like, what are we seeing from him? And where's the NHL heading?
So to use a famous landmark that gets used a lot, Mount Rushmore. Mm-hmm. Okay? And we use that in all sorts of different situations. Mm-hmm. I think he's on the Mount Rushmore right now of marketable NHL players.
Like Mount Rushmore or your Mount Rushmore?
Is it 4 or 5?
Oh, yeah. No, you're right. You do know that Anthony and I thought it was 5, which, quite honestly, is excusable for the Canadian kid, but not so excusable for a college graduate. And Anthony Stalter, at least he says he graduated.
Fire up chips.
Yeah, fire up chips. Let's just go with the regular Mount Rushmore. Okay, let's just go 4. If ESPN or TNT is marketing games in a week, who are the faces do you think they're deferring to in that week?
Ooh.
Connor McDavid,
Austin Matthews,
Sidney Crosby,
and now I'd say Connor Bedard. No longer.
And if there's a different set of games, maybe it's Nathan McKinnon,
right?
Maybe
Ovi.
But if Connor Bedard is playing that week, you better believe his face is on the board.
Oh yeah, I mean there were some people that thought they were going overboard at the beginning of the season.
They did a little bit. It was a lot.
They absolutely did.
Has it been worth it? I mean, has he met the level of the expectations?
I think he has, and in some instances, Carey, I think he's exceeded it.
Yeah.
Because I don't think he's ever going to be a Connor McDavid. I don't think he'll ever be a Nathan McKinnon. I think looking at a player like Mitch Marner is a very good comparable statistically for Connor Bedard, which is still great. That's a 100-point player.
Right.
And he's still, one of the most dominant players in the NHL. But Connor Bedard, he's so small and you didn't know, and he's so young and things like that. I wasn't sure if it would translate right away. And it hasn't been overwhelming, but what this kid is doing now is he's finding his rhythm. So we talked about Scott Perunovich earlier finding his rhythm. Connor Bedard is finding his rhythm in the NHL, and he's scoring the Michigan/Legger goal against the Blues. He's scoring overtime goals. He's leading all rookies in every offensive category in the NHL. So to me, I think he's certainly meeting at least some of the expectations.
Does winning a championship or making that playoff push help with that narrative? Like, does that transcend you, put you in a higher, instead of being number 4 on Mount Rushmore, now you're number 2, maybe number 1?
But in fairness to Connor Bedard, and I can't stand the Blackhawks, but in fairness to Connor Bedard, he's been dealt a crap sandwich, too.
That's just lazy, though.
No, but that team,
they stink.
That team had to be so bad for so long in order to qualify for Bedard.
Yeah.
In order to get some of these other kids that they've drafted. So now they are on the uptick of trying to rebuild this team, and certainly Connor Bedard is a pillar. But look around his team. Who is he playing with?
Yeah.
Who are the studs he's playing? He's not. Put him on the Oilers. Put him on the Maple Leafs. Put him on the Avalanche. My goodness.
It'd be
right?
different.
So then we talk playoffs and championship.
Right.
The Blackhawks are 6-7 years from being relevant in a Stanley Cup discussion.
I think you could definitely make that argument for Connor McDavid, though. Like, Connor McDavid, he's missing a championship. He needs one.
Yeah.
He's
the Mike Trout of the NHL.
That's it.
I don't know about that, because Connor McDavid has still played quite a few playoff games.
That's
the Oilers
fair.
They made a bit of a deep playoff run a couple of years ago. Like, at least he's been close.
He has been close. We'll give it to him.
I think he's played like 4 playoff games.
I think maybe even 3.
Yeah, so that's
not
tough.
many.
Not many. It's been about a decade since they've
ever since Ohtani went to the Angels, him and Trout played 0.
Yeah, they haven't had
right.
So, yeah. All right, that was what's trending here in the Fast Lane. We come back, we're going to get into the sports six-pack. So it's time for you guys out there, the listeners, to text in to the Air Comfort Service text line 314-399-9646, or you can jump on our YouTube channel, brought to you by Air Alliance Heating and Cooling, and you can put your question into the snake pit as Andrew Marsh will be perusing both places for your questions. Six-pack coming up next here on 101 ESPN.
It's time for the Fast Lane to answer your sports questions.
I want to ask you a bunch of questions, and I want to have them answered immediately.
Asking me all these weird questions.
Answer the question.
Answer the question.
Answer me!
The Sports Six Pack is now.
back to the Fast Lane here at 101 ESPN. Time for the Sports Six-Pack. Again, that number 314-399-9646. That is our Air Comfort Service text line. Marshy, what do we got?
Question number 1.
From the 314, you were just talking about coaching deciding a player's ceiling. Does Jamie think his career takes a different direction if not for Keenan's effect?
Yeah, 100%. I totally believe that.
Yeah.
And look, I'm not going to say anything that's a lie here right now. People can Google it. You go back and check out the highest scoring defenseman in OHL history, and I'm third.
Wow.
You go back and check out single season, and I'm tied for second. At 32, I had 32 goals one season, 27 power play goals that year. Had 36 points in 16 playoff games. The trajectory was there. I went on to the American Hockey League, was an all-star in my first 2 seasons playing in the American League. So would my trajectory be different? Yes. Had I been able to play the game the way I wanted to, skate, move the puck, and play offensively, yeah, I would have. If you look at the beginning of my career, in my first 15 games, I had 7 points. 2 goals and 5 assists.
Yeah.
So, like, it was there.
Right.
And I was told that I wasn't allowed to carry the puck. Don't carry the puck. Just put it off the glass, get out. I want you to be physical, run into guys, and be hard to play against. If I want offense, I'll go to McInnes or Duchesne. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. And as a young player, what option do you have?
If you want to play, this is how you got to do it. Otherwise, you're not playing.
Well, then why did they draft you then?
Keenan didn't.
Oh, he didn't?
No. So Ron Caron was the GM here. He drafted me. And then Ron Caron moved out of his position for Mike Keenan. So Mike Keenan took over, and I wasn't his guy. And he made it clear I wasn't his guy. Even though I went and rewrote record books as his guy, I wasn't his guy.
Wow.
And so when I got here, he did not want me to play the way I'd always played, which is weird because every coach I'd ever had up to that point was like, just get the puck and go.
Yeah.
Go.
Be you.
Everything I'd ever accomplished in hockey was being a scoring defenseman.
Yeah.
And so to be told that you're going to be a defensive defenseman that blocks shots and plays physical now, I guess not that I was opposed to it, but I was like, this is
not
weird.
what I
had to completely relearn how to play a different style of game while playing in the NHL against the best players in the world.
I understand that completely. I was a pass-catching fullback. Hey, throw me the ball. I caught 114 passes in college. I didn't catch that many in the NFL. It changes.
It does.
But again, if this is what you want to do, if you want to play, everyone is not allowed to, be that superstar. That it just depends on where you are, the coach that you're with, the environment, the offense, the style of play that they choose to play, and how you fit, how those pieces fit with you in it. And sometimes it's unfortunate, but again, you do what you got to do to make a living and to be in the sport that you love doing, and you don't complain. At least try not to. Not out loud.
Bite your tongue.
You're going to punch somebody in the face every now and then.
Yeah, it does help.
Question number 2.
From the 314, can we, if at all, put any trust in Ryan Helsley?
Oh. Wow, Marshy coming at us with this trust right away this early, huh?
What did you say earlier? We haven't got the spring training.
We're not even at free agency really here. I don't know, man.
I think with in order to be trusted from a fan perspective, you have to be trusted in terms of being able to take the ball consecutive nights, willing to go out there when you don't feel your best. We talked about it. How you blocked 11 shots at one point. That was the highest number of shots blocked in the game.
Yep.
Your body probably didn't feel very good after that game.
Oh no, I sat in an ice bath for about 25 minutes.
But the next game you went out and played.
Oh yeah,
because that's what we do. Like no matter how much you hurt, how tired you are. I think trust comes from your teammates, your coaches, knowing that you're going to get up and go no matter how bad you feel. And trust me, there are days where you do not feel your best. And you still have to go out and perform, because that's what being a professional is. That's what being a great teammate is going out there because the team needs you. It's not about me, it's about we. And so I think for him to be trusted, it has to be more we encompassed in what's going on.
I agree. And, with his injury, coming back from injury. How much do you trust that? I think, I want to trust, and I think I will trust, but there certainly has to be a more give me the ball at any time that you ask me to take it and get out there and sling it without holding back.
Yeah.
That to me will ultimately tell me how much trust I have.
Here's my thing. You got one of the best introductions in baseball. Why wouldn't you want to come out every night?
Should, right?
Yeah.
I had that introduction.
That music. Turn the lights
every
off.
night, baby.
Every night. Turn the lights off.
I wish I had an entrance like that.
Oh, we should get one. We would come in for
crazy.
this show.
I always wanted to be wheeled out to the ice in a cage. I did. I had this vision of being wheeled out to the ice in a cage.
Like a madman.
Just like a psychopath.
Question number 3.
From the 636, at this point, I think Goldschmidt and Nolan Arenado are Hall of Fame locks. At least have a great chance to get in. If/when they get in, do you think they will go in with the Cards or with the Diamondbacks/Rockies, respectively?
So I think Arenado is a shoo-in. I don't know if Goldie is.
Even with an MVP on his resume.
I'd have to go back and look. I'm not saying he isn't.
Okay.
I'd have to look at some comparables. For Arenado, I think it's easy. I think that the comparables are already there. Like Scott Rowland is a great comparable to Nolan Arenado. Took Rowland a little while to get in there, but he did get in there. And I think Nolan Arenado absolutely goes in as a Cardinal. I don't think he's fond.
Really?
I don't think he's fond of his time as a Rocky. Now, he might go in as a Dodger, too.
I don't know if he's... Yeah, I was about to say, I don't know if he's fond of his time either.
What did I say? What?
He doesn't play.
He hasn't played for them yet?
No.
He will. Don't worry, he will.
No, it's not there.
All right, fine. But I do think, I think he got so sour, though, with the Rockies. He asked to be traded a number of times. He felt like he was lied to. He asked to be traded out of there. He has not been asked, he has not asked yet that we know of to be traded out of St. Louis. Now, if it's another crap season, maybe he does. As it sits right now, which is the only thing I can evaluate with is the current situation, I think he would elect to go in as a Cardinal. And I do feel like Paul Goldschmidt would also elect to go in as a Cardinal based on his success as a Cardinal, and especially the MVP.
He did get the MVP with the Cards. Nolan Arenado had so many Gold Gloves with the Rockies. You're almost wiping away his
but I almost feel like
history there.
He wants to. I don't think he...
I probably agree. I think I agree with you. I just think from a baseball perspective, like a fan perspective, and I'm nothing against my favorite team, to me, he is a Rocky when it comes to the Hall of Fame because he had all those Gold Gloves with him.
I would say Colorado as well. I mean, 8 seasons versus 3 here. It's just...
Personal choice, though, right?
I think so, yeah.
I think the player gets to decide. I believe, doesn't
they
he?
used to.
They do, I think so.
I thought they got, because...
and you got to imagine how many more
Don
seasons...
Mattingly that wanted... Randy would be...
But how many seasons... How many more seasons will he have with the Cards, right?
According to you... not many.
Well, if he has if the team has one more bad one, you got to get what you can get from
The Dodgers, they just might buy the entire team.
They just buy the franchise.
Yeah, LA Cap will look sweet in the Hall of Fame. All right, you know what? Let's keep this going. We got a little long-winded. That happens here in the fast lane. We'll continue with the Sports 6-pack. We'll call it the Sports 3-pack when we come back here on 101 ESPN. If you are in the market to purchase a home, maybe refinance your current deal, how about consolidating debt? All of these things can be confusing and they can be scary. That's why you have to trust our guy Stewie with Stewart's American Mortgage Corporation. He's always available for you. Call him, text him. He hands out his personal cell phone number, and he's got great ideas, great programs. In fact, he has one that he created. It's called the Bagel Loan. The Bagel Loan is a loan that if you borrow $200,000 or more, here are the benefits. No underwriting fees, no appraisal fees, no title fees, no lender's fees, and no closing costs. It's an amazing deal, and especially when you couple that onto purchasing a home at some point, really you're giving the home seller the best offer available, and that's what Stewie wants. He wants to get you to the closing table. He wants to help you save as much money as he possibly can. He's got that old school customer service, and I can tell you right now that he cares. He cares about every single person that gives him a call. So call him on his personal cell phone number. That number is 314-324-4440. 314-324-4440, or you can always Google the Bagel Loan.
NMLS number 226715.
It's time for the Fast Lane to answer your sports questions.
I want to ask you a bunch of questions, and I want to have them answered immediately.
Asking me all these weird questions.
Answer the question. Answer the question.
Answer me!
The Sports Six Pack is now.
Fastlane here, 101 ESPN. We're going to continue our sports six-pack. We're on question 4, please.
Question number 4.
All right, I'm looking at the Snake Pit right now, and they're talking about the Baseball Hall of Fame, since we were just talking about that with Paul Goldschmidt and Nolan Arenado. And PEDs came up in the discussion.
Oh, God.
Do you think Major League Baseball, and Day Drinking Brian mentioned this, he goes, I don't understand why they can't just embrace the 1990s, which just was full of PEDs. Do you think baseball should embrace that era of baseball? Because in my opinion, it kind of saved the game.
Well, not kind of.
It did.
It absolutely saved the game.
Yeah.
So here's where I stand on this, and I get yelled at all the time by the text line. Every time this gets brought up, there's some people that side with me and other people that hate my guts. So I don't really care. Here's where I feel about it, Carey, and you can, obviously offer your opinion afterwards. But at the time, there was nobody being punished for this rule.
Correct.
I know there was a rule that said, I guess it stipulated something about it, but there was no testing at all, and there was no punishment at all. The players were doing, a lot of the players were doing, not all of them, a lot of them were doing the exact same thing. So therefore, it was a somewhat level playing field.
Yeah.
The batters were on it. The pitchers, we found out later on, were also doing it. So where do you draw the line? If you're telling me that Mark McGwire isn't a Hall of Famer because he took PEDs, I think you're crazy.
Yeah.
Look at Mark McGwire's numbers before the alleged PED era for him. Go back to his Oakland days. Go back to where he was a lot skinnier and he wasn't big old Big Mac. His numbers are still there. Go back to, like, I don't even know what to say. It wasn't punished by Major League Baseball, so how can you punish the players now? That's the way I look at it, and I know that there's a big percentage of people that might disagree with that, but that's where I stand.
I agree wholeheartedly. I look at Barry Bonds. He was a really good baseball player in Pittsburgh, really good player his first few years in San Francisco, and, you know, things happen, things change, but there are, and if everyone or the majority of the people are doing the same things, then I don't know that there is an unfair advantage for one side over the other. Why these people aren't, why we just kind of dismiss all of these, and since we're on the topic, Pete Rose as well. Like, gambling is legal everywhere in terms of sports.
Oh, I know.
So
still can't bet on your own games, but
you probably shouldn't, but he was betting to win. That matters, right?
It certainly does.
So, you know, I just think that some of these guys definitely should be in because of all of the work that they did throughout their entire careers. And it's a shame that they have to go, you know, they put in all of this work, have all of these numbers. Some of them are you know, the top of their field in what they've done and still unable to call themselves a Hall of Famer. That's unfortunate.
Look, there are a lot of things, too, that people don't know that went on, too. Never mind the steroids and things like that. There is a whole generation of players that were on amphetamines.
Yes.
There are a whole generation of players that were shooting up Toradol and things like that. Yeah, I know, me too, buddy.
Yeah, buddy.
I know. And those are all performance-enhancing things.
Hey, let me tell you something.
Yeah, Toradol was my best friend for a while.
It's glorious.
It's great. One shot in the butt and you're just good to go, baby.
What about the Russian gas?
The Russian gas. Well, that's a whole other animal.
Did you ever have that?
It was
What is
available.
that?
I never had it.
What's the Russian gas?
This is like giant black bag that is like hooked up to this machine, and they want you to put this thing over your mouth and inhale this. And I'm watching.
What is this?
It's in Russia. Dude. And they call it vitamins. Vitamins. And I was like, what the hell are they talking about? And the guys would leave there buzzing.
Really?
Like, they get out on the ice and be flying around. I don't know what the hell was in that stuff, but I'm like, I'm not doing it. One, I'm at the end of my career. So what I do here in Russia is not going to impact anything to do with... My numbers here don't affect how great I was in the NHL at all. But dying over here because I huffed some kind of Russian gas over here.
So we used to put, like, the smelling salt.
Yeah.
You break them up and throw them in a water bottle like this.
A water
Put
bottle?
Oh, man. You put 4 or 5 smelling salts in a water bottle.
And sniff it?
When I tell you the things you will do after you do that.
Really?
Oh, you're going to run through whatever is in your way.
I had a smelling salt the other day, and I thought that it was just one. It was just one. I decided to why? Because it was fun. I was like, I need to wake up a little bit here.
We used to put 4 or 5. It probably do something to your brain cells, I'm sure.
It absolutely did.
Shake it up.
It did make me feel weird.
Don't squeeze, because if you squeeze, then you
might pass out.
No, I was just like, kind of waving it around.
Yeah.
So, all of these things we're talking about, right? None of them were punishable.
No.
But they were all performance enhancing.
Yeah, not great.
Like Ultimate Orange was a drink that we used to take too. So Kasperi Kapanen, his dad, Sammy Kapanen, played against me.
Okay.
And I slammed an Ultimate Orange. The first shift of the game, went out and slashed him in the side of the head. Don't know why. The hair on my arms was growing. And I could feel it. And
Just because.
I was so hopped up on this friggin' crap. I got off this, and Jimmy Roberts said, don't ever drink that again. I'm like, don't worry, Jimmy. I never will. I could feel my heart pounding. So yes, steroids, PEDs, all that stuff, but there's so many other things that could fall under that umbrella that I'm just like, where are we drawing the line at this point? So I don't know. Put them in or create a special category. Call it the 90s Hall of Fame or Juice World. I don't even care what you call it.
The 618 makes a great point. Bud Selig was the commissioner the entire steroid era, and he is in the Hall of Fame. I agree with that. I agree that if he's going to be in there, he benefited. A lot of people benefited from the steroid era, except for the people that actually did it.
Yeah, I agree.
Question 5, please.
Question number 5.
From the 636, guys, do you think Sean Payton always had a personal vendetta against Russell Wilson even before he was named coach for the Broncos, and he finally had enough and saw an opportunity to get rid of him? It seems like to me that they were always butting heads on the field, and I can only imagine what the tension was like off the field.
So here's my thoughts, CD, and you'll have probably a better perspective on this. I think he took the job in part because Russell Wilson was a quarterback, because he thought he could fix him.
Yeah.
I think he looked at that as a talented player that had lost his way and the coaching wasn't helping him, and Sean Payton sitting at home thought, I could take Russell Wilson because I have seen him a lot, played against him a lot. I could take Russell Wilson and turn this into a winner. That's what I think happened.
I think he didn't know what he was getting with Russell Wilson. I think when you sign on for that job, you know that Russell Wilson is potentially a future Hall of Fame quarterback. But all of the other factors, the other things, the off the field things, the having an office at the facility,
2 offices and 2 parking spots.
That
and his teammates weren't allowed to call him.
And
they had to call his publicist.
That when you learn that information, now the personal does start to impact the professional side of it. I think that when you realize you got all this going on and you're not even playing well enough to have that.
Totally.
If we're going to be honest. Yep. Like, there are some players you come in, you got what? You know what? Don't bother him. He's good. He's okay. He's performing at a high level right now.
Don't bother him.
Don't even speak. Leave him the hell alone. But if you're stinking it up, that's a problem. You got too many other things going on. And so let's eliminate some of these outside factors. Let's get this back online. And if you aren't playing to the level that's going to help us win, not just win games, because Sean Payton is there, I'm sure, to win championships, then we have to move on.
Question number 6.
Guys, I wanted to ask you about Wander Franco, and if you think his career's over. He was trying to find him in the Dominican Republic, and he is a no-show.
They're trying to find him?
That's not good.
Hang on. Give me a little. I know the background.
Yes.
Okay? I know what he has been accused of.
Yes.
But I don't know what's going on here.
So he did not respond to a summons filed in the Dominican Republic to address those allegations that we were just talking about. So
Which were allegations with a minor.
Yes,
correct?
Inappropriate relationships with minors, multiple. So he did not show up to the Specialized Prosecutor's Office for Children and Adolescents at the time he had been given to. So, I mean, this guy's career is over.
This guy's life is over.
For sure. And the one thing about...
I don't feel bad if it's true.
Not at all.
Not at all.
Not at all. But I do find it interesting that the Rays, a team that does not spend, the one player that they actually give money to, he's not playing anymore.
Yeah.
So...
Like Jamie said, baseball, when you have those things going on, baseball, your sport, takes a backseat. He got a life issue right now, which, if it's what he did, what is alleged is true, then yeah, the hell with that guy.
Yeah, let him disappear.
Yeah.
I don't care if I see him again, honestly.
Yeah.
And the money and all that'll be wiped off the books because Major League Baseball does have policies in place to protect teams from individuals who make horrific decisions. Yeah. And I don't know what lies ahead for Wander Franco. Don't know what the truth is. Hopefully the truth does come out at some point and we find out if it's true or if it's not. If it is true, then, lock him up, throw away the key, and that's it. Forget about him.
Yes, I agree.
All right, that's the Sports Six-Pack. We finally got there. Took us 2 segments, but we got there. When we come back here, we're going to address the biggest question of the day. right here on 101 ESPN.
ESPN Sports Center.
I'm Andrew Marsh. It's time for a Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. The Blues won last night over the Dallas Stars by a final score of 2-1. They will be back in action tomorrow night, taking on the Colorado Avalanche. Pregame starts at 6 o'clock. Puck drop is at 7. You can catch all the action right here on 101 ESPN. Earlier today, we had Scott Perunovich on the show, Blues defenseman, as well as Blues radio host, or the voice of the Blues on the Blues Radio Network, Chris Kerber. If you missed those interviews, make sure you go to 101ESPN.com or check out the free 101 mobile app. Go to the podcast page. You can see the interviews and the full show. It's all brought to you by Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers. Tonight, we have Thursday Night Football. It's the Browns taking on the Jets. Pregame starts at 6:30. Coming up next, we have our biggest question of the day. I'm Andrew Marsh, and this Sports Center update is brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, an independent American standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
It's time for the Fast Lane's biggest question of the day.
Welcome back here to the Fast Lane, 101 ESPN. Carey Davis, Jamie Rivers, Andrew Marsh. Time for biggest question of the day.
All right, guys, we were just talking about the steroid era in baseball, and now there's a new era in baseball, and it seems to be the large free agent signings, right? And so how will baseball be affected by what we've seen from Ohtani and Yamamoto? From the 618, biggest question of the day, will the contracts of Yamamoto and, this says Ontario, Ohtani, ruin baseball in 5 or 10 years?
I don't think so.
So let me ask you this, just a side question. Why would it ruin baseball?
Yeah. I think maybe
too much money?
Well, I think maybe that's what the texter is thinking. At some point, you can't pay everybody this amount of money on each team, right? At what point does it become overdone and teams start to dial it back or scale it back a little bit?
So I think we've already seen the market correct itself, though.
Yeah.
I think we have, because you had the Mets that went completely overboard.
And realized
you can't necessarily buy a world championship
that way. Yeah.
So they shed some salary. They got rid of some players, and they're on the road to redemption, we'll call it, to where they're going to probably take another swing at this a year from now. You have the Padres that it blew up in their face. They had to trade Juan Soto, and they had to take out a $50 million loan from the bank to cover payroll.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the market has already corrected itself. And if the Dodgers don't win, let's say they don't win multiple championships and whatnot, you'll see the same thing happening. They will start to have to liquidate some of their assets as well. So I don't think I'm worried overall about the sport of baseball becoming a 3-team league where you just buy your championship. Because if that was the case, then the Dodgers, the Mets, the Padres would have all been World Series champions last year.
Right.
And they weren't.
And it doesn't, at the end of the day, the Arizona Diamondbacks were in the World Series, right? The amount of money you spend does not equate to a championship or even playing for a championship. No. There are still other ways to get to that final product of winning a championship. And if the Dodgers are unable to make a run here, and with the money that they've spent, we're not talking about one championship. We're LeBron James and the Miami. Well, not one, not two, not three. Like they have to win multiple championships.
How many do you think in the next 10 years? How many do you think the Dodgers have to win?
At least 3.
That's what my number was 3.
At least 3.
And 5 appearances.
Yes.
Like I think 50% of the 10 years you have to be in it.
Otherwise, what did you do?
Yeah.
I mean, if you only win 1 championship, or maybe you win 2 out of the 10 years, and you only played in 2. It's wonderful. It's nice, but is it worth what you spent? And I would think probably not.
So I think the bigger question is not the amount of money that was spent by the Dodgers coming into question or how that might change the league. I think it's the contract structure from Ohtani.
That was interesting.
So not everybody can
afford that.
Okay, not everybody can do that.
Right.
But you have to imagine now. So let's just go back. Let's time warp. And I'll just use Albert Pujols as an easy reference point for our listeners. Albert Pujols' career comes to an end, or his tenure, his contract is over with the St. Louis Cardinals.
Right.
He had already made a boatload of money. a boatload. Life-changing money for him, his kids, his grandkids, their grandkids, you name it, okay? So Albert Pujols could have, in theory, taken a deferred contract like Ohtani. So that was back then.
Yeah.
And now, so fast forward here. Now you got Ohtani, and you have a lot of players that are coming up for contract in the next handful of years that are game changers, that are absolute stud players. They already have a bankroll.
Right.
So then, how is the league going to regulate this? Because talking to Bill DeWitt III, he likes to skates with the alumni, and from he's a great dude. And, we just talk openly about certain things. And he just said, the Cardinals have a lot of deferred money, too. It's not a new thing. It's not a secret. But the amount that was deferred was shocking.
Yes.
And
there's
so,
a lot.
How does the league regulate that? So, like the Mets, let's say. The Mets go out and they want to grab... What, Marcia, I need your help here. What huge name player is going to be available in the next year or two in Major League Baseball?
Ooh.
Like, I know Judge is locked up. Is Mike Trout coming up, or he's locked up too?
Probably.
Who?
I said.
Text line, help me out. Who's coming up here that's going to be a massive free agent? Because I'm wondering, that player probably already has life-changing money.
Yeah.
And what's stopping the Mets, who have a good deal too, to say, hey, you're going to defer?
What about Corbin Burns?
Okay, so Corbin Burns.
I mean, he's not like as big as Ohtani or any of that, but he's one of the premier starting pitchers in the
Corbin
league.
Burns wants to go play for the Dodgers, or he wants to go play for the Mets, or somebody like that, right? And they up against luxury tax. They don't want to hit that. So they go, hey, listen, why don't we pay you $1 million a year and you defer the other $28 million, and never mind the no interest on it. We'll pay the interest on it at the end.
Now we talking.
But now this is like massive changing for the league, because now it really isolates only the big dogs. Yeah. Because those smaller market teams can't do that.
It does. It may, and does that create an unfair advantage for the teams that can afford money like that? For those guys, for those big-time players.
So Juan Soto's popping up here a lot. Pete Alonso, all those guys already have life-changing money. Yeah. So to defer money to the back end of their contract. Oh, I know. Paul DeYoung.
Paul DeYoung.
I mean, sure.
Tyler O'Neill's on that list too.
So if you would have asked me in my career, even if I didn't make life-changing money, let's just say I had made a couple $5-6 million over my career before I hit my one free agency, and the team was talking to me about deferring money to the back end of my contract or post-career.
Yeah,
I would have done it.
Yeah.
To me, that's an investment. The money's out of my hands.
Especially if they're going to put the interest as well. I
can't touch it?
Yeah.
Good.
Thank you.
That means I can't go spend it? Good.
And it'll be there when I no longer have a job?
It means I'm not going to put all those girls through college anymore? Good. I mean,
those
not
establishments
me.
are...
I was talking about maybe Marshall Falk. But still, either way. Yeah, so, I don't know. To me, that's the bigger question is, will Major League Baseball try to step in and change the way contracts are structured?
I don't think you can you? Can you tell a corporation, a business, how to structure the contracts?
No, but you can do it through the collective bargaining.
But that means both sides have to agree to that.
Players, they won't.
If I'm a player, why would I agree to that?
But we know Major League Baseball is not afraid to lock out. They don't care.
Yeah, they will. They are willing to do that.
Because they had epic losses.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the Dodgers are spending $1 billion in an offseason on 2 players. Interesting.
Hopefully they do something with it.
I don't know. Either way, it's going to be interesting to see how all that shakes out. So many questions surrounding Major League Baseball, and probably because they're the only league without a salary cap. And I don't see that changing anytime soon as long as the players have a say in it. He's Carey Davis, Jamie Rivers, Andrew Marsh. We'll be back here with our last segment of the day with what you missed, criticisms, compliments. Coming up on 101 ESPN. Last segment here today on the Fast Lane on 101 ESPN. What you missed today? Well, we talked about Joel Hofer and his spectacular performance against the Dallas Stars. We talked about the Blues and their potential moving forward. We also had the privilege to talk to Scott Perunovich, Blues defenseman who had 2 assists last night. We also got to talk to Chris Kerber, voice of the Blues. We had some good stuff to talk about there, including a lot on the young guys. Carey and I and Andrew had a little debate over who deserves to be in the 2024 NFL Hall of Fame. Let's see, what else do we have here? We had the year in review. We took Katie Woo's article from The Athletic, and we dissected some of the quotes of the year from the Cardinals and where things went wrong and how it ended up off the rails. We also had a little discussion about comeback player of the year, where Carey was completely wrong and I was right. And you can catch all of that by downloading the podcast at the 101ESPN.com website or the 101 ESPN mobile app. All of that brought to you by our good friends over at Dobbs Tire and Auto. Time for criticisms and compliments. Andrew, I'm sure there's no criticisms today, but go ahead.
Yeah, we'll start off with the 314. Jamie and Carey are radio gold. And gold is in all caps.
That's awesome. I'll take it.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, we're very excited. I'll just speak for myself on this one, but I'm excited to have Carey on board with the Fast Lane starting January 1st, full-time with the whole crew. Anthony Stalter will be back with us. We'll have Marshy Marsh, DJ Dirty Elbows over there on the dials. It's going to be a lot of fun, man. We're going to have a really good time talking about sports and other things and family and, I mean, God knows what else, but I'm really looking forward to it.
I appreciate it. I'm looking forward to it as well. I can't wait for Anthony to get back and we're all in here.
You don't have to say that.
Stalter's my guy, man. I love him. So,
me too. I love him too. But,
I didn't have to marry him. But I think it's going to be great, man. I think we're going to have fun. We're going to inform the audience as much as we can, and just 4 guys shooting the breeze.
And day drinking Brian agrees from the Snake Pit. When Anthony comes back, the show is going to be fire. CD's personality is a great addition.
It is.
We like to laugh, man, have fun, and
don't take this too seriously.
You cannot.
Certainly don't take it as serious as some of the text line.
But these people are upset. Like, I wonder, why are you so mad, man? Like,
who hurt you?
What do you do for a living? And what happened in your life that caused you to be this upset on a daily basis? Like, no smiles, no happiness, no joy. You should find something that brings you peace in life.
Yeah, that would be nice.
We didn't get a text today from the 618.
Oh, he's boycotting us because we didn't slander the Cardinals enough. He's lurking. Don't worry.
We got a compliment from the 636. CD, it's great to hear you on the Fast Lane. I usually miss the morning drive because of my work schedule. So glad to hear you in the afternoon. Already sounds like you're going to fit in well with the rest of the guys.
I appreciate it. You all have been welcoming, and I appreciate y'all, man.
Absolutely,
make this
man.
easy.
We're looking forward to this.
So we got a question from the 314. What happens on the Gauntlet? LOL, football will be a heck of a category.
Yeah, so the way the current Gauntlet 2.0 is set up, we have no control over the category.
Yeah.
So it's not like it used to be where it was football for Anthony, baseball for Brad, hockey for me, random for Marshy. Now it's like we don't know. So you pick the opponent. The wheel picks the category. Carey may get football like he did today. He may get hockey. He may get random. I may get football. We like to keep it interesting that way.
And now it's going to be tougher because there's 4 of us now instead of 3.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
do we make bigger trophies?
No.
It started with 4, though. Remember, we have BT here.
Right. But it was more tough to win. It was tougher to win a Gauntlet trophy. And then, the Gauntlet 2.0 came out, and we started losing a lot.
Were we handing them out?
Really? We were handing them out like it was Halloween.
Anthony got hockey like 17 times in a row.
Yeah. I'm going to tell you now, if I get hockey, just go ahead and strike up the music. You've chosen wisely.
You have chosen wisely.
There it is, yeah. We'll hear that a few times.
All right, we got one from the 636. What the hell? Carey landed on the island of misfits. Wait, I'm sure legally they need to have one legal adult in the room. I think
we're still waiting on them.
You think Carey's the adult? What have you been selling people in the morning, Carey? My goodness.
I don't know.
Good golly.
Doing a good job, clearly.
Yeah, right. Just because you were partnered with Randy doesn't make you an adult. I'll tell you that much.
We are children in the morning, too. Trust me. We have.
My goodness.
We laugh and have a good time.
Yeah, there's absolutely no supervision for this show. This is why the bosses leave the building before we get on the air. They're like, we're not responsible for what happens at this point.
Thanks, Dad. Text in. Marshy, the produce section was fun to listen to this morning. He's talking about the producers party. Will you guys be reproducing tomorrow? We will be.
Yeah, I did it. Yeah, it was good. I listened in.
Did you? You like it?
I did. You all
right.
It was pretty good. Y'all had a good time, and I could tell y'all were having fun. And I didn't like I didn't like his pick for moment of the year.
Oh, which one?
He chose the
basketball.
No, man.
Oh, he chose Ted Lasso.
A movie.
That's not. No, you can't do that.
I didn't like it.
No, you can't do that.
He thought outside of the box, and I put him last just because of that.
I will say I also thought outside the box. At first I was like, all right, we'll stick with some actual sports moments, and then he went off the board, and that sort of made me want to go off the board, and then the whole thing went off the rails. But we'll be better tomorrow. We'll be better for sure. So, all right, one more here. Let's see what we got. Great show. Can't wait to listen in Florida. That is from the 904.
Nice. Thank you for rubbing it in.
Wish I was in Florida.
Yeah, no kidding.
Nice.
I was just down in Florida. Boy, it was glorious, too.
I know it.
It was great. I was walking along the beach, dipped my toes in the water.
Well, you sent us the picture.
I know.
Yeah, you had to rub that
I did
in.
rub it in. That's right.
It was raining that day. It was terrible.
I'm so sorry to hear that. No, I'm not. All right. That's the Fast Lane here on 101 ESPN. We'll be back at you tomorrow starting at 2 o'clock. We'll have me from 2 to 4, then Carey Davis and BT from 4 to 6. Thanks for listening. See ya.